Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show. Bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Streaming live on the Foundation Podcast YouTube channel, here's Nick and Matt.
What's up, everybody? Episode 64, Nick and Matt Show. We've got Nick down in Virginia. He's on his iPhone today. Doesn't look bad, huh?
I am. No, it's not terrible. Luckily, the new iPhones actually have decent quality to them when it comes to video and audio and everything like that. So hopefully people don't notice it too much. I'm going to try to angle myself better throughout the show. But for some odd reason, my Skype on my laptop isn't working right now. I don't understand it, but it's technology, and I never understand it.
That's okay. We've tried other options besides Skype. We'll get there eventually. We've got a huge budget to work with. And then we've got Evan in studio. Say hi, Evan.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, so Evan's here. Everyone loves it. They think it makes our show that much better having Statmando in the house or in the studio or in my basement. And so we've got a show lined up like always. You can see the title. Drew Gibson used Disc Golf Player Management Group. And we've got Steven Scansaroli. He is actually a local to my area. But surprise, surprise, Drew Gibson announces, and we're going to talk about it, a multi-million-dollar contract. And the man behind that, I go, is it really Scans? And it is. So we'll have him on in a while here. And besides that, Nick, my brother, the guy who's trying to beat out both of us for our jobs.
Yeah, I know, right?
Fan favorite. People love him, just like they love Evan. Maybe it should be the Evan and Josh show. We could just do it like another one for them.
We'll make that one next.
Yeah. So that is our show lineup. We've got a lot of topics, including, let's get right into it, Nick. The season is over as far as like, for all intents and purposes, it's over. There are some pros still playing a few events here and there. The finale happened. We had Nathan Queen on. We burst a lot of people's bubbles saying spoiler and we ruined their lives. But it happened and Missy won. And now we've had some time to go. When's the next event? Well, it's not coming right now. We're going to talk about the next events coming up. But before we get to that, we need to go back and look at the 2021 season. And it is a long time ago. But go back to, we'll say the first event that kind of kickstarted it all was the All-Star event. Nick, give me like the 10 or 15 second version of like, what was the storyline going into that? What were some of our thoughts before we led up to All-Star?
I mean, the All-Star event was it was the two different rounds between men and women, and then whoever scored well, and then whoever scored bad got paired up with doubles partners. Is that how they ddid that one?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember now. It's been so long.
They did like best shot, then they did worst shot.
Yeah, I think it was seed base. So it was like 1 and 8 and then 2 and 7.
Yeah.
Okay, I can remember. I'm mixing up the celebrity program,
Okay.
I think, with the All-Star break. But anyways, I guess long story short, Paul Macbeth and Kona Panis were the actual two players who took down their divisions for the All-Star weekend. So that kind of kicked off the tour down in Arizona. And then Vegas was the next event right after that.
Yeah. And I remember going into it, we didn't know what it was going to be like. We thought to ourselves, like, what this could be. We're like, are there going to be field events? Like, oh, they're modifying the layout at Memorial, at Fountain Hills, and it could be kind of bad. They're only doing 9 holes. I remember all these feelings. And then, Kona was able to get in a good round during doubles and then play out the singles and was able to capitalize, and Paul as well. And from that moment, we said, is that like going to tell us about the season? And then we went to LVC, right? And at LVC, the quick rundown there, somebody's name, Ezra Aderhold, kind of popped off and found himself on the top card for a while. But Eagle McMahon ended up taking it down.
Yeah, with pretty dominantly too. I'm pretty sure it was a few stroke lead at least, winning that event, kind of really setting the tone for the year. Eagle obviously had an incredible year, and then Paige Pierce took it down against a pretty close battle with Katrina Allen, and they were well ahead of 3rd and 4th place. So just both of them starting their pretty dominant years as well.
Yep. And then as far as FPO goes, do you remember what that was like?
Every single weekend, you couldn't predict a winner for FPO this year. It was I felt like every single weekend someone new was winning. And it was cool because it gave us a lot to talk about. It gave us a lot of different guests on the podcast. But it definitely, if I was a betting person, I would have lost a lot of money this year.
You are a betting person.
Try to be.
So we're not going to go through every single event. That's a long podcast, which we are. But I'm curious for the chat to shout out maybe some of their favorite event moments as far as who won or who was pressing hard, things that would go along with storylines that happened, or that maybe if you think back, well, we thought might have happened, but didn't. Moments that we're forgetting about from 2021 already. I'm going to go back to a storyline in Brody Smith. Do you remember coming into this year, that was one of the biggest storylines. He's going full-time tour. He's working his butt off. Can he do it? Can he compete at the top level? What's it going to look like? And what happened, Nick? Literally what happened with him? He came out of the gate, and let's just say the first 6 events he played, 8 events. I don't remember the exact number, but what was your reaction?
I mean, I'm pretty sure he was averaging a pretty solid top 30 finish at most events. I know Vegas, he was in the top 30. I remember at Goat Hill, which was a Silver Series event out in California this year. He made the lead card, was on some film coverage. He got his USCGC spot at that weekend or at that tournament. So I think we kind of came in with where do we think Brody's going to land? And I think a lot of people thought the lower half of the field, but a good majority of the events, he was playing very well throughout the whole year, averaging above his rating for a good majority of it, and just playing solid disc golf for the first year being on tour.
Yeah, I just pulled it up, the Disc Golf Pro Tour's standings. Any guess at where he finished as far as standings in the Disc Golf Pro Tour?
It's probably lower than I would think, just because he missed a few Pro Tours towards the end of the year, especially. But I put him, I don't know, 60th to 80th is what I would say.
All right. Well, okay. So Brody, he's sorry. You did play better. 46th. So you under
46th.
Yeah,
okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
He did pretty good for himself. And in fact,
I know he missed the last couple events of the year, so I'm sure that probably took. I don't know where he stood before MVP and GMC,
but and just for fun, who do you think out of these players, Simon Lizotte, Nate Sexton, and I'll just throw out Corey Ellis or Eric Oakley. I'm going to change it up. Eric Oakley, Simon Lizotte, Nate Sexton, Eric Oakley. Who do you think he placed most closely to out of those names? Just, I don't know, kind of pointless question, but what do you think?
I would assume Lizotte.
Okay, so Simon actually placed really well.
Yeah, he did really. He was close to making the finale.
Exactly. So not him. It's Nate Sexton. Nate took 45th in the Pro
Nate
Tour.
was going to be my second guess, just because Nate barely traveled at all this year for events.
Right, and Eric Oakley taking 38th out of those names that I just gave you. And just to finish up the Brody talk here, LVC 25th place out of the gate. We were like, wow, okay, 25th place isn't bad. And then he went 47th. Then he went to a Silver Series and took 70th. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, this is interesting. But then he went to Vintage Open, 27th, Silver Series. Jonesboro, he took 25th. Then he went to Goat Hill. Do you remember that event in the conversation at Goat Hill with him? I think he found himself on the lead card, didn't he? The final round.
Yeah. I think the 2 final rounds, I think rounds 2 and 3, he was on lead card both times, chasing Ricky. I think he was tied with Ricky after round 1 and then was chasing him round 2 and 3, I think, by the end of it. Yeah,
so he tied for 8th there, not having his best finish as far as like finishing out. I mean, that was a great finish, 8th place. Then he went to OTB Open, 26th. Then he went to Portland Open, 13th. Then he went to Resistance Disc Open, RDO, 21st. Then Clash of the Canyons, he went 11th. Des Moines, 30th. So, I mean, like, as you mentioned, that stretch right there until he retired for the year after D-Glow at 61st. I'm going to say, if I had to put, a stamp or a grade on his season, because that was a very big storyline.
Yeah.
Brody,
no, definitely.
I can remember. That was what we talked about a lot. Remember we did a Brody tracker?
No, a couple things Brody really did his first year of getting into disc golf was a lot of field work, improving his distance, improving his play out in the field when it came to accuracy. He actually does have incredible distance. I've played rounds with him before, and it's pretty sweet. And then his putting is very consistent. It's very solid. It's a nice smooth form. So I think as he etches together these last few things in his game, solid forehand off the tee, stuff like that. I mean, you'll see him place very well, especially at the more open golf courses that we played at. A lot of his better finishes are at those more open courses, and then the more technical, tightly wooded ones, his finishes go down a little bit. But for the most part, when you're seeing him at those larger events where they're at golf courses, you'll more than likely see his name, I would say, pushing the top 25 pretty consistently.
Yeah, I agree. He missed the Preserve, Ledgestone, Idlewild, Stafford, MVP Open, GMC, and the Tour Championship. It'll be interesting to see him eventually get to those, but I think he's happy. Everything I heard from his season, the way he wanted to attack it, was that he didn't expect to be placing as well this year as he did. He expected next year, and that was always what he had said. He wasn't changing it up next year to be his like official, like, this is my real grind. Like, I should be able to compete at a pro level.
Yeah.
Let's go over to FPO a little bit. And Evan, I just want to set you up a little bit here. Have you been able to pull up any winners? Have you done that yet? Or
I have all the winners from the Pro Tour Elite Series.
Okay. Elite Series.
Yeah. You want silver too? Or NTs?
Well, just go ahead and give us the, just list off FPO Elite Series winners. And this is Statmando in the house. Thanks, Evan, for doing this.
All right.
Just list them right off.
Let me just get it sorted real quick.
Yep.
So we had Paige Pierce taking out LVC by 1 stroke. We had Kona Panis winning Waco by 12 strokes. That was the biggest win of the year by either division. We had Katrina Allen winning the Jonesboro Open by 8 strokes. Paige Pierce went on to win OTB by 1 stroke. Then wins Portland Open by 1 stroke. Then she wins Portland Open by 3 strokes, but back to back. Then Missy Gannon takes out Des Moines by 1 stroke. That was her first big win before a lot of big wins this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that was the start of the Missy Gannon year. Definitely the back half of it.
Yeah, and then Kristen Tatar goes on to win by 1 stroke at D-Glow over Paige Pierce. That was kind of the Tatar's big win, and then had 1 or 2 silver series or 8 tiers before that too, but then goes back to back, wins the Preserve by 10 strokes the following week. And then I forget if Tatar was gone at this point, but Ledgestone, which was the following week, Paige Pierce wins by 11. And then Paige Pierce wins again at Idlewild by 3 strokes. Going to the MVP Open, Katrina Allen took that down by 7 strokes. And then to round it out, Haley King took down GMC by 1 stroke. And then, of course, the Pro Tour Championship with Missy Gannon taking that down as well.
Nick, any standouts for you out of that FPO list? Like, that was like your favorite win of the year for FPO?
I think probably any of Kristen Tatar's wins. She's an awesome person. I'm super psyched about her new deal with Latitude 64. She just signed that big contract. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I would say Kristen's she came over, she dominated a couple events, and then she left, and it was kind of a bummer because we wanted to see her finish out the year. Just with US or the Throw Pink Disc Golf Championships for the women. But then I would say Haley King's win at GMC, she was so close to winning it last year. So for her to get that one this year was pretty awesome. And then she also dominated national tour events throughout the year. Another notable one, I guess, would be Deanne Carey's Silver Series win over at Resistance Disc Open. That was definitely a notable win in her career. Kona's, I would say the biggest one was definitely, Kona's win by 12. She just looked dialed in. And that was only a few weeks after the All-Star win that she had. And yeah, I would say Kona definitely had a pretty pop-off win with that one.
I love hearing these recaps on this and just even your perspective on it, because going into the year, you felt like it was going to be the same storyline. I mean, I guess Haley King would have been, and I think that was our conversation. Like, is this year for Haley to really kind of push and mix things up? And she did, but so did so many other names, so many other FPO names. That is one of the best parts of this year for sure. All right, jumping back over to MPO as we do our little bit of just like mixed bag of talk on the season and how it played out. You can, Evan, if you have the MPO there, of the winners. We can pull that up, do that, and then we're going to talk about some of the names that come up in this list.
All right. To start the season off, as you guys said, Eagle McMahon took down LVC by 8 strokes. That was the biggest MPO win of the year. Then Nico Lacastro took down Waco. That was a wild week. That was a super exciting finish too. Ricky Wysocki goes on to win Jonesboro by 4 strokes. Eagle McMahon picked up his first of 4 wins of the year at the OTB Open. And then won back-to-back with the Portland Open the next week. That was another really exciting finish. And speaking of the Portland Open, that'll be one of the events that's on ESPN2, I believe, which is a great event to watch that again. Paul McBeth took down his one and only Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite win at the Des Moines in July. Then we go on to the Great Lakes Open, and Eagle picks up another one. On to the Preserve. Ricky won that one. Speaking of another super exciting finish, another like 3-way kind of going right to the end. And then Ledgestone was the odd thunderstorm one with Ricky and Heimberg.
We're going to talk about that one later.
Yeah, picking up the tie for first. Then Kyle Klein with the only playoff win of the year for the Pro Tour Elite Series at Idlewild over Andrew Marweed. And then the MVP Open, Adam Hammis took that down. And to round it out, Chris Dickerson took down his first Elite Series win of his career, or Standard Elite Series, since he had the 2 Tour Championships in previous years. Finally got his first Standard Elite Series win.
So we're going to give you the opportunity, Nick, to talk about your maybe favorite win there, or your favorite just storyline with the MPO. But I want the chat to chime in here. What was a moment that stood out to you as your favorite MPO moment, whether it was a storyline or how a player finished that maybe you didn't expect or you had hoped, or they just performed well as your favorite win? Nick, what do you think? The MPO season, all those winners that he just listed off.
Oh, that's tough because there's a lot of really, really fun winners in that category. I would say probably my favorite one, though, is Adam Hammis. I love the MVP Open. It's 5 minutes from my parents' house. Adam, Jeff, Paul, Hannah, they all stayed at my house. So we just had a great week nonetheless. And Adam always raves about how much he loves Maple Hill, how much he's always wanted to win that event. So I would say for him taking that one down, that was probably my favorite. But then same thing, Chris Dickerson, such a nice dude to finally pick up his first Pro Tour win at arguably, definitely, oh no, I wouldn't even say arguably, definitely my favorite tournament of the year every single year, being at GMC. So both of those two were definitely I would say, favorites of the year.
Okay, I will say a favorite moment was in the very beginning when Eagle took down LVC, and we already talked about that event. But one of the reasons is because he threw the tilt upside down on the last hole, and I don't know ever in disc golf had I seen something like that before. Some people were upset and bothered by it, like unsportsmanlike, but honestly, it was all in good fun. It was actually to help and market like Simon, his buddy's disc, and all of that. I mean, it was great. And in fact, I was doing real quick, Nick. I was doing like a, what do they call it? A companion feed to the Disc Golf Network, like an official companion feed with Simon in studio. And I remember Simon, right where Evan's sitting now, just being like, he's holding his head. You can imagine Simon, is he actually, he did it. Like he's freaking out. Like he threw it upside down. Yeah. What were you going to say, Nick?
I was going to say, look, he was walking into that last hole with a few stroke lead. You know, he was easily winning the tournament. The disc flies well upside down. I've seen a lot of people throw it upside down. None better than how Eagle threw it. But I don't think there's anything unsportsmanlike about that. It's like, dude, if you got the final shot and you can do something cool with it, by all means. Had he thrown a grenade up to the basket at that spot, would people still think that's unsportsmanlike?
You have to throw it righty backhand. If you throw lefty, you're offending somebody.
Yeah, exactly. That's just that's 2021 for you.
How about this moment? Anybody forget the moment of James Conrad throwing, I think it was somewhere in the 247 or somewhere in that range there, throwing in his shot to push the playoff? That was epic, right? Yeah. Nick, where were you? Where were you when that happened? I'm going to ask Evan the same question.
Standing, I don't know, probably 40, maybe 50 feet left of hole 18's basket. A bunch of us, we just watched that flight smoothly come in and somehow stick in the chains. It was insane. Well, it kind of just rolled around the basket, but yeah, I was standing right there for it. It was an insane, electric moment. I like, I don't know if I've been through something that was like that insane. I mean, I went to a Celtics postseason game against the Cavaliers. It was Game 5 a few years ago. I went with two of my really good buddies, and the TD Garden that night was absolutely on fire because we won the game. Um, but to see like such an incredible moment in a sport that I love and a sport that I play was insane. Absolutely insane. I still don't even know how to like describe it.
Totally insane. I'll tell you mine, but I'm going to give Evan the floor.
Yeah, this is so sad. I did not get to watch that live at all. I was at
he was waiting for post round
wedding rehearsal. Yeah. I was like, I'm only watching post for that. No, I had a wedding rehearsal dinner. So I was sitting at dinner at that, and my watch is blowing up from Hans and Dion, the other two Statmando. They're just like, oh my goodness, what just happened? And I'm just like trying to follow and like not really pull out my phone, and they were kind of explaining it. So I was reading on my watch kind of subtly as I'm at dinner, and then watched it later, and it was still exciting, but I did not get to have the same feeling everyone else did, and that hurts. But there's a running joke now that if I'm ever busy with, a wedding or just some other activity, that there's gonna be some exciting stuff happening. Another one was the Klein playoff at Idlewild. Wasn't watching that either. Is getting updates. So you're welcome, Disc Golf World.
You're welcome, Kyle. You're welcome, James. I have important stuff to do. I was on the couch with my wife. We actually, I think that was right around our anniversary. I think that's what it was, because the kids were not there. Like, we had like a weekend without the kids, and we were watching live disc golf. I know, it's super romantic, right? But in the moment, like, we're so relaxed just watching this. Like, I'm like, oh, Paul's so close. He's gonna win. He's gonna win his 6th world title. Like, it is in the bag. Oh man. And then like that moment, and Nick, you were there, and I'm just watching it on TV, and it's like just adrenaline. Like, I don't think I could go to sleep for a while after that one, but that was a moment to not forget. There's a lot of them. And I'm seeing other ones come in here. People are saying it was awesome to see Nico win one, and I don't disagree. I think that was pretty fun in the beginning to watch how he actually pushed really hard to get that.
Yeah, someone in the chat was saying Ricky's throwing at DDO, and I got to say, even though that he was out of the running at that point, that was a big one after the loss of his sister. Comes down and just hits a huge putt, and the crowd goes crazy. And I think a lot was on Ricky's mind that weekend, and getting to just run through the crowd and just being pumped, just kind of let a lot of that go and just got to be in the moment. And I think that was really, really cool for him.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that was a storyline, because remember, we weren't sure, was Ricky going to make it? I don't know if you had heard, but we started seeing things like his story in social media would be like, what? He's not even out there at the event. Like, he's in a different state across the country, but he was able to pull it off, play. And that was a very memorable moment when he was going to tee off and they gave a moment of silence. Like, he was playing for a different reason at that event. Good job for him, obviously, to be able to perform. And some people, there's always people on all sides. Some people are upset by that. And I said, listen, that's his life. Like, you can't tell him what he needs to do. But that is what people do now.
Yeah, I know, it's insane.
Right. So I'm not going to cut anybody off here, as I always do, and I've already done. Any last things on this year? Like, we can bring them up later, but anything else that just stood out you want to talk about for this last year, this season?
I mean, Paul winning USCGC, he was in the hunt at Worlds, getting second place, and then showing up at the other, what was there, only 2 majors this year. Him being in contention for both majors, ending up taking down Kyle Klein in the playoff at USCGC was definitely a huge moment. And then Nathan Queen winning the Pro Tour Championships, surviving all 4 rounds, shooting the hot round every time is pretty insane. We had him on just a couple weeks ago. Or last week. Was it last week? Yeah.
Last week, Nick's like, episode 57. And I'm like, dude, time travel? He's like, I don't know. Is this last week? He doesn't know.
I said like 63. I was like, I don't know. We're on 60 something, maybe.
But now he's like, you don't even know where you are. Where are you?
Yeah. I don't even know if my computer's going to download Skype the morning that I need it to.
So we're going to try to talk about next year's storylines in coming weeks. Okay. But we're not going to try to tackle that tonight, but there are a lot of things coming that we just talked about, but coming up. But before we get to that, Nick, let's go ahead and thank some people that deserve to be thanked for supporting our show. All right, everybody, you know what time it is. Autumn is officially here. It's cold. Well, kind of cold. And in the Northeast, we're putting on our hoodies and our jacket. Actually, you know, that's false. In the Northeast, we're still wearing shorts and t-shirts. It's 45 degrees outside. But autumn is in the air. The pumpkins are in the patch. Our friends at Manscaped are here to make sure you don't carve your pants pumpkins. I still think I should wear pumpkin pants for Halloween. So if you know what I'm saying, make sure you keep things fresh this fall with the leaders in male grooming. My wife's gonna be like, why pumpkin pants? Yes, pumpkin pants. Yeah. Okay, they're the leader in male grooming in their brand new 4th generation performance package. Boys, get ready for cuffing season like no other. Ready to take the leap into fall with Manscaped. 2 million men have already purchased and are using Manscaped. Get 20% off using the code Nick and Matt. Nick, we know your favorite. We know your favorite product. Okay. But did you know the other product that you're using, the Lawnmower 4.0? Did you know that it has a cutting edge? And maybe you know about this. a ceramic blade. I don't even know. What is a ceramic blade? Ceramic. Is that glass?
To be honest, I don't 100% know, but it probably makes it so it's not going to cut anyone, which is really nice. It's definitely got a smooth shave to it. And it's the perfect time of the season to start buying them. Girls, buy them for your significant others. Guys, go out and buy them for yourselves. Incredible products. I stand by them. They've helped us out with the show. 20% off is incredible. Free shipping worldwide because of our code. And it's definitely well worth what you get out of the performance package.
Yeah, and let me wrap that up. I was just asking because I'm not quite sure. Isn't ceramic like the same thing they make? No, that's toilets or porcelain. I don't know what I'm saying. Ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their, and they call this their advanced skin safe technology. It also gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for more precise shave. Plus, it's waterproof. I have tested it. It doesn't get broken. You don't get shocked. You can turn the light on and off. It's a pretty cool product. We use it. They support us. Again, go over to manscaped.com. Use code Nick and Matt for 20% off. Thank you to those who have. Thank you to those who will. All right, Nick, let's continue on here tonight. Real quick, before we bring in our guest, did you hear about this multi-million-dollar contract for Drew Gibson? And what was your initial reaction? I had one. I want to know what yours was. Be honest.
It was actually no, to be honest, I figured it was something to where it's like an uncapped salary. You know, he can make this amount of money and it can just keep going up and up and up, or he can make this low money depending on how much, you know, sales affect it or whatever. That's kind of my initial reaction to it. And then as I briefly read the article that Ultiworld had come out with, the whole Gibson line of discs that's eventually going to come out, I'm obviously happy for Drew. I think it's a great deal. I'm curious to see how successful it is going to be. The disc market in disc golf right now is absolutely insane. People are buying discs left and right. I was just talking actually to James Conrad's dad about,
oh, really?
You know, James is tournament this last weekend together. And so I was just briefly talking to him, and he was telling me how even something as simple as MVP going from 20 to 30 full-time employees now at like 90 to 100 full-time employees. So the disc collecting market, the disc market just in general is insane right now. And so if Gibson can actually come out with a set of line of discs, I think it's going to be a very successful thing. People are going to support it no matter, even if you don't, you know, care for Drew as a player. Sometimes when a new disc comes out and your buddies are all telling you how incredible this disc is, it just makes you want to buy it in general. I mean, yeah, good discs will sell.
Yeah. So when I saw the deal, I thought, I have to set it up just a little bit. I was actually recording my other show on, it was Tuesday when they hadn't released it till Wednesday morning, that information. I was recording Tuesday afternoon with my brother. And one of our topics on the other show was literally the question, will anybody in this offseason, will this next year be the next year, who will sign $1 million contract? Will there be an additional $1 million contract? And my answer was, no, there will not be. And I felt pretty comfortable with that. And then when the news was announced, my brother texted me. He's like, already happened. Like, you lose.
Yeah.
And my response was like, well, it depends how you define lifetime deal. Lifetime. Like, I'm thinking to myself, well, then I have $1 million contract with my work. Like, I'm not trying to downplay it, although I am, but I want to talk to the guy, and I thought I just had him in here, but let me see. Maybe we have to add him again. Let me try adding. We have the guy behind the group. Oh, there he is. Awesome. We have the guy behind Disc Golf Player Management Group, and his name is Steven Scansaroli. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Steven, how you doing?
Hello, team. How are we doing tonight?
What's going on, Steve?
Good. Welcome.
You guys can call me Scans. Let's get that over with. The Steven stuff is weird. Only my mom. I'm in trouble.
Sounds good. What's up, Scans? That's how I know you anyway, so it makes it a lot better.
All right. So Scans, I did not know, and I don't think most of the disc golf world knew about, and just to put it out there, you are using an acronym mostly, or are you using DGPM?
Yeah.
DGPM?
Yeah. Yep. DGPM Group.
Okay. DGPM Group. And this is a player management group. I don't think most people had heard about this, knew about this. And I would say even me, I didn't know that you were behind it until I started doing a little investigating. Tell us about DGPM Group.
Sure. We are not just an agency. I just want to clear that up because people think, oh, you're just negotiating contracts. We are actually offering player lifestyle changes, right? Sure, we're going to negotiate your contract, but that's just one little part of what we're offering. After we negotiate your contract, we're going to help you with everything else. We have web developers, we have designers, we have brand managers, we have social media managers. We have all of those things in place. So if you choose to use all of our services, we can basically help take over your career and help raise you to the next level.
Okay. So we can take over your career. I like that.
Well, it's a lot, right? It's a lot. So like, let's say someone wanted a website to move their gear. Guess what? We can do that for them. Or let's say there's a new player coming up that doesn't have a brand and needs a logo, and that we can deliver that for them. So take over your career is a little aggressive. That's not exactly what I mean, but you get what I'm saying.
Help boost it in the right direction. Now, how long has this been in the planning? How did this come about? Your relationship with Drew? I guess we can start there.
Yep. So back in 2017, I think we hosted Drew. He came here with Will Schustrick for the MVP Open. We just became really good friends. Fast forward a year and a half, he started talking about Gibson Industries, like how he could start that, what we could do. So I helped him build that, the website and the brand. And then there was a level of trust there. So he started coming to me for advice about his contracts. And then you can see where this was going, right? So then he's like, well, I think you should consider doing this type of activity because you have made my career stress-free, and I think other players would benefit from that stress being removed from their play so they can just worry about throwing frisbees. So really, that's really the history. So last year we decided, okay, let's give this a real trial run. And we went through that trial run, and obviously it was pretty successful. You can see through the season, he just got more and more strong in his play, and he finished like on fire. So the model proved to work. And so we launched it. We opened the barn doors and said, come on in. And we want to grow it organically. I'm not out there hunting for players. I want people that like are in need of more than just a contract negotiator to find us so we can help elevate them to the next level.
Yeah. And kind of introduce yourself and your involvement in the disc golf world too, before we continue more down this path, because you said, oh, like we hosted him, we became good friends, but you have been involved in disc golf and are currently outside of DGPM Group. You're also with Prodigy, right? So like, tell us your disc golf connections and what you're doing.
Yeah. So long stories here, right? So I've always 5-6 years ago, I found the disc golf the sport. There was a course that was sort of abandoned, but not really. I ended up knowing the rec director for the town, became really well involved with the town and how to rebuild this course. We took the league from 5 players to like, we can't 70, 80 players now. I've since moved past that along, but it's all in the motion. So like I've always been bred in the community. With this new venture, I had to step away from Prodigy, obviously, because conflict of interest. I was a team captain. So like all of those things, in business, I can't have both of those. So I just want to thank Sully and Will Schustrick for wishing us good luck and, having a nice parting of ways there. So no, I'm not with Prodigy anymore.
Okay. But I guess the point being that, and I hear you saying, is like, you've been involved and you're pretty good from my perspective, working with professionals, helping them get what they want to do. You've done it locally. Now you're doing it on a larger scale. And Nick brought up Drew Gibson and you talked about your connection to him. Can you talk about how much you were involved, DGPM Group, how much you were involved with the negotiating of this contract that was announced?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about the process in general. So we take our players, we do basically what we're calling an intake survey. We learn about where you are, what your expectations are, what your goals are for the next season and beyond, if it's multiple years or single years. Once we learn who you are and your archetype, we then put a plan in place for you, and we go talk to whoever that sponsor may be, right? In this case, it was Infinite. So we knew where Drew wanted to be. We knew what Drew was after. We took all of those, went to Infinite and said, here's what we're looking for Drew. Where are we? Where are you? Let's meet, let's talk, and have all the powwows. And then it's just, an iteration, right? You have your side, they have their side. We shoot high, they shoot low, and then we kind of come into the middle, and then we end up with the final contract and move on.
And can you kind of detail, because, when Drew posted, he said, on this day, I just signed my first multi-million-dollar deal. Can you kind of go over not exactly what his deal consists of, like how much money he's making off the disc, whatever like that, but where does the multi-million-dollar wording come from?
Yeah, so obviously when you make any deals of this nature and this size, you have to understand the numbers and what they're going to mean 2, 3, 4 years out. With the projections and in the industry analysis of that data, it's clear that it's going to be multi-millions of dollars, like without question. So when we were drafting up a social media post, a little bit in there is marketing. We want a little mystery to get you guys talking about them. There's no denying that. We're not going to hide that. But we're there, and there's no questions about it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And so, lifetime deal. Is he contractually obligated to stay with Infinite for the rest of his career? Like, and again, say as much as you can, but is that what lifetime means? Or is that just like a hope?
No, there is a lifetime deal in place here. It's structured in 2 ways, which I can't talk about. But yeah, there is a lifetime deal with here, and Drew's not going anywhere from Infinite.
Gotcha.
So like a thing is, like, if you're going to invest in your player, they're never going to go anywhere, right? If you show the player that you want repping your brand and is going to be your main spokesperson, if you invest in them, they're never going to leave you, right? It's only the fringe cases, or like, the player sees their value of X and the company sees their value of Y. If those don't match up, there's a problem. And that's what DGPM Group is supposed to do. We're supposed to level that, right? So the player and the company are on the same page. That's why there's no mismatched expectations, right? And if there's no, if we can clear that up, then everyone goes away happy.
And then you guys have slowly been announcing other players that are joining into the DGPM group. Can you talk about the other players working on their contracts and stuff like that?
Sure. Just all of them, or do you have any specific questions?
Just how many do you guys have already? I mean, you just launched this group, maybe a little over a month ago when it became public, and how many people have you gotten since then? And then just go over, doesn't have to be in full detail, but just the process of helping all of them out now.
Yeah. So, we have 4 players. We have Connor O'Reilly, who won his first big NT this year. We have Matty Oram. Everyone knows Matty O. We have Cam Colglazer and Trevor Harbolt. So we have a nice range of players that are all in different negotiations. Some have contracts that aren't up. Some have contracts that are up. So right now we're still in like the learning process and getting through their main contracts. Once we finish up all the sets of main contracts, then we move on to what we're calling the subcontracts. And we break these down into 3 basic levels. You have your main contract. You have your sponsorships, which are basically kind of cash end product, might be discs, might be clothing. And then we have the endorsements, which we're kind of classifying as just product. So like, hey, Nike wants to sign Drew because they saw him wear his hat. Okay, well, they're not going to pay him, but they'll give him free hats for life. So that would be kind of an endorsement type deal. So we kind of broke it down that way.
Okay. Now, are you guys are the players actively looking for outside sponsorships, or is that kind of what the DGPM Group is also doing, looking for the outside sponsorships rather than just the main disc golf manufacturer?
Yep. So we are pushing hard for outside sponsorships for multiple players that we have on our roster. Everyone has unique abilities and styles and all of that stuff. So, tattoo cream, beard oil, all sorts of stuff that is, we're not here just for the players. We're not just here for helping the companies hold players accountable, but we're also trying to raise the bar for everyone and bring more to the industry.
Okay. Got to ask the question. The chat room's asking. I've got to ask, and I'm pushing hard on. No, how much money? What's the cut that you guys get? What's your financial revenue look like with this? Like people paying you to become a part of the club or what?
I regret it now, but no one's paying us. No, we it's based on how many services we do, right? So it could vary. It could be 3%. It could be 20%. It could be anywhere. So if someone comes in and says, Scans, I am lost. I need you to help me with everything. That means contracts, sponsorships, endorsements. They want us to take over their social media. They want us to build them a brand and logos and website. That's going to be on the higher percentage side of things. If you're like, hey, Scans, I got a slam dunk for you. I just want you to manage this so I don't have the stress. It's going to be a lower percent because we're more about building the industry year one, and we're not really signing people to contracts. We want you to love us so much that you just keep coming back to us and you tell your friends about us. And we're white glove, so you will get the best experience that we can deliver.
And is this pretty much opened up to any player touring wide? Do you guys have a cap on how many players you're going to try to do the first year?
Yes, we do. We're looking for 7 probably is the max because, like I said, I don't want to give up that white glove service. So we don't want to go too high. But I have plans to expand. I have investors lined up if we keep growing at this pace. I have there are a lot of big things that we want to do that are going to shock the industry, but not quite ready to release those yet.
You go ahead, shock us, knock our socks off.
I will. Give me about 8 months, and I'll do just that.
8 months. We're gonna set the timer. Hey Siri, remind me in 8 months.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking. So you talked about, I've heard you say we a few times. Do you have a team yet, or just people that are kind of volunteering their time, or what does it look like for you?
So I have a team. I am a firm believer that you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. So I have my co-founder, Josh Granado, who is helping me with negotiations in that level. I have Alex Sakash, who you might know as the Wiser Owl. He's head of my media team. Will Goringer, excuse me. Sorry, Will. He's working on all our data analytics. So before we pull a player, before we'll even present a player, I want to know their sock size. I don't want to go into any negotiation without, I want to know your worst hole on tour so we can fix that next season for you. So again, we're doing more than just contract negotiation. We're going to help you become the best you can be by showing you these things and removing all the stress you might have during the season.
Wow.
And of course, Tara, my lovely wife, she's an accounting major, so she's taking over the finances.
That's a big help.
Yep.
So Nick, you're not raising your hand yet? Pick me. So.
Oh, it's funny. Someone in the chat was like, well, we know who Nick is talking to after the show. I was like, nice. That was a pretty good comment.
Actually, I don't know if you missed it, Nick, but I asked you earlier what you thought when that multi-million-dollar deal was announced, and someone said Nick was like, hey, what about me? So,
yeah.
All right. So I'm going to throw some ideas out there, just see your reaction to them. So Nick and Matt Show, we're a disc golf media company, but we want some help on the management side. Right now, you're probably not, maybe you are prepared to say, yeah, you would help, but would you branch out into other besides players?
Yes, we've had a couple companies already reach out to us to kind of help them. So I'll never do anything without a plan or the data to back it up. So I'm currently researching these avenues to see if we can benefit you as much as we think we can. If it proves that we can, we're all in. On that same line, we started partnering with nutrition shops, and we partnered with Allison over at Edward Jones to help players when they sign these contracts to have a 30-minute meeting about financial planning. You guys don't have healthcare or 401k or all those things. So if we can provide those benefits to you at little to no cost, then go enjoy that and learn to put some money away in an IRA or a Roth to save for your future.
For sure. I've been saying this for a long time. Nick and I are in this industry of talking disc golf, but part of our show, strongly part of it since the beginning, is getting on professional talent to talk about what they have going on, because we think, Nick and I always have this conversation, that there is tremendous value in getting their face in front of their fans and their people. I'm assuming you see that value for players as well, but in our side of it, it can be hard to line them up.
Yep.
As a management group, it sounds really exciting to me. Is that something like we could reach out to you for? If we want, let's just say, for instance, we want to get Drew Gibson on the show. Can we reach out to you and help, and you'll help make that happen?
100%. So I have 80 requests in my inbox now for tournaments and certain things, and each player has their certain criteria that needs to be met for them to go do whatever X is. But yeah, those are all the things we answer. Every email, every request that comes in, we don't ignore anything. You'll always get a response. That's just how we work.
Yeah, I think that's huge, especially in the disc golf world right now, because as players are getting better and better and they're getting more well known, when outside sponsors come in, tournament directors are going to want players to go to sometimes their local tournaments, and they'll do everything they can to get them there. So being able to have an agency behind you handling all that takes a lot of stress off the pro player. And then it's like, okay, yeah, we can go out and do that, or no, I don't feel like doing that. I think that's huge in our sport.
Yeah, selfishly, I'm over here like, please, everybody get a player management group, like, or go get hooked up with Scans here. And it's not to say that like we can't get people on the show, but I think having somebody who specializes in that, knowing this is an opportunity you need to take advantage of, it's going to help the player make those decisions too. Trusting DGPM. So that's awesome. What did we miss, Scans? What did we miss that is really exciting about what you're doing? Anything else?
I'm blown away by the response, the market response. I'm blown away by the actual company's response for the majority. They all say this is needed in the industry. They all say they appreciate what we're doing and understand where we're coming from. A lot of you players are young. You're talking 18 to 32 is like the sweet spot. And like, you want to go buy houses. You want to go do all these things. And, the message is a bank isn't going to look at a 10 to 20 grand salary and be like, yeah, you can get a loan for a house. Like, so I don't care you get 30 grand in discs. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me, the bank. So we're trying to kind of flip the model on its head and get these companies to treat the players like employees, and that's really the goal.
Wow.
Do you feel like the way Paul was open about his big contract that he signed recently, do you feel like that was good for the sport, just shifting to now players are finally starting to, they have someone who showed what they are worth? Yeah. And is that kind of also how you guys are gauging what another player is worth?
It definitely set a barometer, and it definitely opened up the industry as a whole. So thank you, Paul. Everyone appreciates it. Every player's value is different to anyone you talk to. Right. And that's the biggest challenge of this job. Right. That's why everything we do is data based. Like I can't come to you and be like, player X did these things and like, yeah, you need to love them. You might not like that player, so you're not going to pay them. But Matt might love that player and would pay them. Right. So you just got to make sure you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed before you go into any conversation.
Yeah, I think you've provided us with a lot of good insight on this. I'm excited to know that it's coming out of the Northeast. There seems to be so much coming out of the Northeast as far as big things for disc golf. And I think this is some of the first to do this management deal stuff. And I feel like there's going to be more seeing it as a good opportunity. And I believe a lot are going to come to you as part of this. Nick, I'm just going to throw this out there. Scan seems like someone who has a good perspective on players and judging players. And I'm just thinking to myself, should we go down this road of judge that disc golfer with Scans?
Oh boy.
I mean, if you've got one set up, might as well.
Scans. What do you think? Do you got an extra 10 minutes?
Let's go.
All right.
Have some fun.
Nobody knew this was coming down. I didn't even know, but I just felt like it could line itself up here. Let's jump right into it. Let's see. Here we go.
Judge That Disc Golfer, the game show where you judge a disc golfer you've never met.
All right, judging a disc golfer we've never met. Now, this player is from the Maple Hill area, so it's possible that all three of us could have met him. I did. I interviewed him. Evan's up. He doesn't know this yet. He always looks for the stream a little bit later. He's playing this as well. All right. So you've seen this before, right, Scans?
Yep.
Okay, good. He's like, nope, I haven't. We can't do it.
I'm completely lying. I have no clue what I'm doing. Let's have some fun.
All right, let's go ahead and introduce our first player to the game. All right, hey man, my name is Matt. Thanks for coming on the show. What's your name?
Yeah, no problem. I'm Brent.
All right, Brent, let's get to know you a little bit. How long have you been playing disc golf?
For about 3 years now. Yeah.
Okay, 3 years. In those 3 years, have you ever played a tournament?
No.
Any competition at all, leagues or anything?
No, just with my friends.
Okay,
Yeah.
just with your friends for about 3 years. Lucky to have Maple Hill. Is this your local course?
Yeah, we just moved out of Worcester, so I've been playing in the Worcester area for about 3 years.
Okay, at Maple Hill, what's your favorite layout, would you say?
The whites, it's a little challenging, but also you got the easy holes.
Perfect. So, you said you haven't competed, so I'm guessing you don't have a PDGA membership. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so no rating there. How about the pro scene? Do you follow that at all?
Do
you have any favorite pros?
Yeah, we got Simon. What's his last name?
Simon. Does anybody know a guy named Simon? The
plays
fans
me-
right now and the followers are screaming at
They
you.
must, yeah.
Lizotte.
All right, there.
Simon. He was actually on our show a few weeks ago, so
Nice.
I'm sure he'll be glad to hear he's got another fan here. So, let's get to it. How far can you throw a disc? All right, you know how this game is played. We asked how far can you throw a disc. This is what his response is. There's not really any clarifiers. We're not going to make Scans go first. We're going to make him go last here to give him an advantage. Evan, what's your answer?
Oh, I said this last time I did judge that disc golfer, not this disc golfer. He can throw 350, but he's going to say 330.
Okay, 330 feet is his answer. That's what Evan says. Nick, what do you think he's going to say?
I'm going to go 360.
360. All right. Nick says 360. Scans, what do you got?
Evan stole my number, so I'm gonna go I'm gonna price is right him 317.
317. That's right. You got the under. All right. Let's go ahead and see what his answer is.
Whew. They're right there, so they're about to judge me. I'd say only like 450.
Oh. Okay, 450 feet. Can I just ask as a follow-up, how do you measure that?
Just by the hole, length of the hole, and then distance side still left of the basket.
450 feet, everybody. All right.
Good on him.
Nick, you got the point, right? All right.
I did. I got it.
Oh, that's funny. I asked in follow-up, how do you know? And he says he looks at the T sign, where he lands. That's pretty far. So, all right, here we go. Question number 2. If I was to give you a stack of 10 putters and to stick you at about what we call circle's edge, which is about 10 meters, so maybe about the edge of the island green there.
Yeah.
How many would go in the basket? How many go in the basket? 10 putters from circle's edge. What does he answer? We're going to go with Nick first, Scan second, Evan third.
6.
He says 6. Now, this is a question you're allowed to answer the same if you really want to. Scans, what do you got?
I'm a 7 out of 10.
7. Evan, what do you say?
I'm tempted to say 10 because this dude said he threw 450, and I'm a little bit not sure about that. No, I'm just maybe he does. It's judge that disc golf. I'm allowed to do this. I'll say 5.
He probably says 11 or 12. He's like, bro, all right, here we go. Let's see what his answer is.
7.
Okay, 7 out of 10.
You'd be in make 2 out of 10.
His buddies off screen are razzing him. All right, point for Scans. There you go. I knew you could judge people. You seem like a good judge of talent. All right, here we go. Let's get into our third question. If you were to get a disc golf tattoo, what would it be? Would it be a putter hitting the front rim, Tasmanian Devil throwing a 360 long distance drive, a single basket, or a favorite disc golf phrase you might have? For instance, like grip it and rip it, or death putt. I love his reaction when I asked if you were to get a disc golf tattoo. He's like, oh boy. All right, Scans, you're up first. What's the tattoo of choice out of those options?
I don't know. He liked the Taz, but I think I'm going disc golf saying.
All right, a phrase or a saying. Evan, you're next.
Are we allowed to go duplicates on this one?
Yes.
I'm going to go phrase. He's got something like I don't even know. Counting check marks for all of his aces or something. I don't know.
Okay, Nick, you're up.
I was thinking about going phrase, but I'll go oddball on it, and I'll say the single basket.
Single basket. Let's see how he answers.
It would be huck and pray.
Okay, so it would be a favorite disc golf phrase, huck and pray. That's excellent.
Huck and pray, baby. I love it. All right, that's a point. That's 2. Scans as the lead. Evan has 1 point. Nick has 1 point. We're getting into our final question. If Nick and Evan get it correct and Scans gets it wrong, we have a 3-way playoff. If Scans gets it right, it's over. Let's see how it plays out. Question number 4.
If you were to play your first competitive round, but it was with unfavorable weather conditions,
Yeah.
are you going to choose to have it be really windy, 20 miles an hour plus the whole round, moderately raining, so consistent rain the whole round, or snowing? Picture like a blizzard.
All right, so we're back to Evan answering first, Nick, and then Scans. Evan, what weather, unfavorable weather does he choose?
I think this guy can throw 600 with the tailwind, so I'm gonna go wind.
Evan chooses wind. Nick, what is he gonna say?
I was going to say the same thing. I feel like this guy likes playing in the wind.
Me too.
All right, Scans, you can't lose if you say win.
That's no fun, but I was going to guess wind because I was going to say snow, but he's so skinny and pale that there's no way he likes the cold.
Exactly.
I got to go wind. I don't want to, but I got to do it. 'Cause that's what it is.
Exactly.
Here we go. Scans wins, but let's see how it plays out.
I've played in the snow and I hate it, so I wouldn't do that. I'd probably go for the wind, you know. It would be all over the place, but that's my game right now, so it wouldn't change too much.
Awesome. Any shout outs you want to give to anybody?
Thanks, Dad. And wait, Big Dave. You'll know who I am.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Big Dave. I don't know who you are, but he says you'll know.
Yeah,
And
who's
Scans.
Big Dave?
I loved the additional commentary there. You nailed it. Like he called it out perfectly. Scans, good job. I got to give you the points. I got to give everyone else the points, so at least we can see how it played out. But Scans had 3.
Yeah.
Nick had 2 and Evan had 2. All right, let's close this segment out.
Judge That Disc Golfer, the game show where you judge a disc golfer you've never met.
Awesome job to you, Scans. Way to go. We're so glad to have you on the show tonight. I would say, do you have any shout outs? But we'll leave that to your players. You need to instruct them to give out the right shout outs, the right times.
Yep. You got it. I'll send them along. You just tell me when you need the episodes, and I'll see who can get moving to you guys.
Man.
I was going to say, it's an off season right now, so getting players hopefully will be a little bit easier throughout the off season, but we're definitely going to be branching out to more than just the notables who finished at last weekend's event, which is nice.
Love it.
Awesome. Any last thoughts, or should we just cut the line now and have you back another day?
No, we are good. I just appreciate you guys having us on, and we're all trying to elevate the industry as a whole. So let's keep it going.
Cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Scans. Love what you're doing.
All right. Have a good day.
It's all right. Talk to you later. All right, everybody. New England, baby. That's what I'll say. New England. Scans, as he says. Let's get that out of the way. Let's call him Scans. I was being all formal. Scans, I brought it up, and I wasn't sure that he actually was not the team manager anymore, but he was doing that for Prodigy for quite a while.
Yeah, I think he was the street team captain for a little while, and I think this is a better avenue that he's going down. I think this is really cool what's coming out in the sport. I'm curious to see the success that it's going to enroll in the next few years.
Does he seem at all to you like a salesman? I'm pretty sure that's one of his strengths. He's like, come to us, we'll make you better. We're going to find out what hole you don't play well at, and you're going to play well at that next year. Like
that's what I was curious is like, is Scans going to give me tips and, go from there? Like, am I going to learn how to play a hole?
Well, that's what he's saying. So we'll have to see how that works out for everybody. But I think it's fantastic. As I've mentioned before, we've talked about this on our show. How many times, Nick, where we're like, we need to be able to reach out to a player's manager and just get an answer. Yes or no. That's all we want. Like, yes or no. We don't care. You say no, but we need an answer. So, Josh, if you're there, we can't see you. We can hear you. And we're hoping to get you on here in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and line
I got a text from a very good buddy just 45 seconds too late, but he said
Whoa.
about the Squatch numbers. and I don't know what that means. So if Scans is somehow still listening, or if Will or the DGPM group is still in the chat, I want to hear about that. So curiosity. Anywho.
Yeah, well, as soon as you started reading that question, it kind of went mute on you because we're still trying to get in my brother here. So say that question one more time.
I'll say, let me get a little bit more info on it, and then I'll re-ask it. So I'm just waiting for another text back.
Okay. I'm not sure what's up with Skype today, but you were having issues. We were seeming to have a little issues with Scans before he came on. Now we got Josh in finally. Let's go ahead and bring him in. We'll continue this conversation. All right, Josh, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, I was just trying to click join call. I don't know. It was like a hiccup, but I'm here.
All right.
Dude, Skype won't even let me do anything. I was trying to call Matt earlier. It wouldn't even let me hit the call button. So I don't know what's going on with Skype. Fix your stuff.
All right. So people don't know that Josh was jumping on tonight. We like to just change things up. So now we've got Matt, Nick, Josh, and Evan in the room on the call. Man, can we have a good time tonight? And we're going to. We're going to be talking about a lot of cool stuff. One of the things being, let's go ahead and let's try to keep it into this 10-minute range, which, guys, we all know that means like what? Like an hour?
No, 10.
Start the timer. Josh, this is not Pro Talk with Matt and Josh.
I was going to say, we have a timer on some other shows. We can do it.
We have a timer on our other show. So we can do the bells and the rings and all that and the buzzers. But I wanted to bring you on because I think you can add to this conversation a lot. And Evan at Stat Mando, give us the elevator speech of what you guys are just about to roll out. We've talked about it for a while, but what is it and when is it coming?
Yeah, we're working on a ranking system. I mean, we find that super cool. A lot of ranking systems out there. But what we're trying to add is kind of a create your own ranking system. That way you can kind of choose what you kind of factor, what events you think are worth more than others, but more like how much more. Are majors worth double a Disc Golf Pro Tour, or just a little bit more than a Disc Golf Pro Tour? So what we're hoping everyone can do is go onto our site and just choose all these different values for what event's worth. If you want events to lose value over time, or if you just want everything to be worth the full amount, if you want to only count a certain amount of events, like if you only want to count the top 5 or maybe top 10, or just do all their events. So the more events you play, the better you do. You can do a lot of changing with that. So kind of working with the back end, still in beta stage, but we're hoping it can get rolled out, maybe in a couple weeks or a month or so. So stay tuned. Some off-season content for people to be excited about.
Okay. So if you're into stats, and someone said this in the chat earlier, they're like, okay, Matt's there and Evan's there talking stats. This is going to be a long show. We want to make this Stat Manda wants to make this very user-friendly where you choose what the value is. We have people that often say, well, I don't like that ranking system because I think it's unfair, or it's not weighted correctly, or you need to put more value here, or you need to have it degrade over time because they won that 10 months ago, but in the last 3 months, this guy's been on fire. He needs to be higher, all of that kind of stuff. So that's what you've done. And you reached out to us earlier because it's not officially live yet. We can't do this live right now in studio. I mean, we could have, but we would have had to change a few things. Mm-hmm. So you took Nick's preferences and you plugged them in, and we were going to see what Nick's ranking system says for top 10 or whatever. You did it for me. I gave you what I weighted it as. And then I believe you did it, maybe just the standard.
No, I picked my own, kind of my own thoughts with it, just rolling with something, trying it out. I mean, that's the whole point. You don't have to have a set one and stick with it. You want to try out different values and see how it turns out, see if you like it.
All right. So go ahead. And Josh, you were not involved in this, but you're here. You can listen and tell us what you think. Evan, go ahead and run down the way that I weighted it and go ahead and give my top 10. Do you remember how I weighted it? Do you have that list, or do you need me to give it to you?
So you gave, well, first I'll just say real quick is different tiers or tours will have certain values, but if you win it, you get 100 points times that amount that event's worth. If you come in second, I believe it's 60, and third is 39. It's how the PGA Tour does their point values for placing. So we took that. We think it's a good system, and we're sticking with that. So you did majors is worth 100 points. Elite Series, so Disc Golf Pro Tour, National Tour, but next year will just be Disc Golf Pro Tour, as worth 80 points. Euro events, so there's the ET and the Prodigy Disc Pro Tour. You had those as 50 points. You had silvers as 5 points. Then you had A tiers, B tiers, and C tiers count as nothing. You did not want to include those one bit.
That's right. Can I give you just the quick reason behind some of that? So I felt like and this is me, this is the value of this system that you guys are doing. For me, I was like, I want my ranking system to determine only the biggest events. And I felt like and now people can hate on me for this, but I felt like even the European Tour events, are they big events? The answer is, if I qualify that, yes, they're big events over there and it's the biggest that they can play. But and now people are going to hate on me. The Europeans come with pitchforks, I'm sure. If Paul went over there to play a European event, or any of our big players, Eagle, I feel like they should win that. Like, it's not like a question of if, in my opinion. So I felt like that's too easy. If someone wanted to just go over there and run that tour, like, they shouldn't be able to just be top ranked. And that was part of my argument for why earlier on I said Evelina, Henna, and Kristen, like, it's tough to say that because of those. So I put a lower weight on those, and I put all the weight on the top, minus A, B, C, 0, and Silver Series. What did I do, 5?
Yeah, you did 5.
Yeah, I said, okay, it's a Disc Golf Pro
16th
Tour.
of what a elite Disc Golf Pro Tour.
So that's my talk through that. So go ahead and what do you want to do, top 10?
Yeah. So, I did 2 different scenarios. I did one, which is just a no degradation for 2021 only. And then I did kind of a ranking system, which is like a 2-year period with degradation. So we'll cover just the ranking system first. For FPO, you had Paige Pierce coming out in first by a lot, over Katrina Allen, Haley King, Missy Gannon, Sarah Hokum. And then in 6th was Kona Panis, 7th, Jessica Weiss, 8th was the top European as Evelina Salonen, and 9th was Kristen Tatar, and 10th was Heather Young. And on the MPO side, you had Ricky Wysocki over Paul Macbeth, who was narrowly over Eagle McMahon. And then Calvin Heimberg's in 4th, Chris Dickerson in 5th, Adam Hammis in 6th, Kyle Klein, Kevin Jones, James Conrad, and Nico LaCastro rounding out the top 10.
Okay, so that doesn't mean too much to everybody because it probably sounds pretty, at least to me, it sounds kind of accurate to what a top 10 might be. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's go to Nick. Do you remember what you chose, Nick, for your weighted?
Yes. Give me 1 second.
Well, I mean, Evan can tell you too.
I got it right here.
Okay. Yeah. I know I did 100 for Elite Series. I think I did 75.
100 for majors.
For 100 for majors, 75 for the Elite Series, whether it was Euro or here in America. Silver Series, I did 25 points, A tiers 3, B tiers 1, which I actually kind of want to. I know you already did everything, but looking at it now, I would do 0, 0, 0, kind of like how Matt did.
Yeah.
But I did 3, 1, 0. So
well, let's see. This is the value, Nick. Does it change it up a lot? The point is, let's see how yours played out. So
yeah,
Evan, go ahead and get
interesting. I think Silver Series are only worth 1/3 of Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series in yours, where in Matt's was a 16th. So in FPO rankings, you had Paige Pearson first as well. She's pretty clear over 2nd in a lot of kind of whatever you do. Katrina Allen is 2nd, Haley King 3rd, Missy Gannon 4th, Sarah Hokum 5th. Then you had Evelina Salonen, in 6th, Kristen Tatar in 7th, then Kona, Henna Blomroos, and Jessica Weiss rounding out the top 10.
Okay. Can we see real quick? What changed there? Did anything change in those?
Oh, it wasn't super clear, but
with my scoring, Kona was 8th, while you had her at 6th.
Yes.
Yeah, your top 5 was exactly the same.
But yeah. Oh yeah, we have Kona at 6 and 6. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Nick had the Europeans with Evelina Salonen and Kristen Tatar higher than you had a Matt. They were 8 and 9 for Matt, and they were 5 and 6.
There you
6
go.
and 7 for Nick.
There you go.
And then Henna Blomroos also made the top 10.
That was one of the biggest differences. I put less value on Euro Tour, and you can see that how it played out. And Nick had more value, and you can see that actually bumped him up 1 or 2 or 3 spots.
Yeah. And then on the MPO side, he had Ricky, Paul, Eagle, Calvin, and Chris. Actually, this is almost identical. Okay, I'll just go through real quick.
Close.
Ricky, Paul, Eagle, Calvin, Chris Dickerson, Adam Hammis, Kyle Klein, Kevin Jones, James Conrad, Vino Makala as the 10th. That was the only difference, was Vino Makala.
Again, the Euro.
Yeah,
and
you
chose to have less.
You had Nico at 10th. Nick had him at 11th.
Okay. So that's the difference. But see, this is the fun of this, and I hope Statmando stays with us for a while. This is the kind of thing that is fun, where you get to choose, and your system is actually going to be easy, where it just pops it up. Here it is. I chose it. This is what's important. This is the end all be all. Josh, what would you rate those? Would you rate it similarly to what we did? Like based off 100 points per event? Like what would you choose?
Yeah, I mean, majors, I feel like that's no question. And honestly, here's what I would try to do, and I can tell you, but I would try to pick the events and weight them the way I think the players view them, because I think that ultimately drives the most consistent outcome. Because if the players view it as the most important event, you're going to get the best players there. You're going to get the most preparation, right? You're going to get the hardest competition. And so I think at the end, that represents the events that are worth the most. So I think every single major, every single player views it that way. So it's got to be 100, right? Because that's the most reliable result. And here's the point. I'm going to jump to the bottom. In your case, for like B tiers, which you gave a 5 and maybe a 3 or whatever it was.
0
I would
in my
say,
case.
yeah, okay. So, right, but here's the point is, do your top players, whatever that number is, top 10, 30, 50, whatever you want to draw the line, do they view it that way, right? And so if they're kind of like, I'm just going to pick like a Ricky who was on number 1 in both of those lists. If he's like, the Silver Series, right? Like I'm not nearly as serious in my preparation. I'm not showing up early. I'm not focusing as much, but of course I'd like to win. Then I'm like, yeah, discount that. So at the end of the day, majors and Elite Series, in my opinion, yeah, those are the 2 biggest, and then it drops fairly heavy. But can I ask a question or two?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Does the field at the events matter? Is that part of this equation or not?
In this, no. But I will give you a quick sneak peek is when we roll out Create Your Own Rankings, we're hoping to do multiple rankings tied into it. We still got some things in the works. But we'll definitely have one that's kind of centered more around the field strength of that event. So you might have a pro tour that has a lot of people there, like Ledgestone, and you might have a pro tour like Des Moines that was kind of a late addition, and a lot of people didn't add it to their schedules, having different weights because there is different players at different events. But for this Create Your Own Rankings, it's going to keep it a little simpler, and all pro tour events are going to be at the same weight.
All right, so simple is good. Case in point, though, right? Vintage. No, not Vintage Open. Which was Belton Open at Belton Silver Series. Okay, that Silver Series down the end, right, was really compelling. And why was it compelling? Well, because of the story, the competitors down the line. In this case, probably 1 and 2, arguably ranked 1 and 2 players, kind of duking it out, and they both wanted to beat each other. Yes, it was a Silver Series. They didn't sweat it like it was a major, but in that case, I'm like, that was way more compelling than what was the Silver Series like up in? I don't know. I'm not going to pick on one, right? But that wasn't nearly as compelling.
Okay. Resistance discs didn't have as
Resistance
many
discs, or even the one Kyle
Stafford
Klein
Open.
won, great, or Stafford
Mid-America.
Open, or whatever, right? The one that ended up happening at a different course.
Okay.
So, you got to discount those. Matt, one more question, then I'll be quiet.
Good.
Evan, is this just straight cumulative points? So, for example, if you won 3 majors, you get 300 points.
So that's a good question, because I actually forgot to mention this, but we'll get into the ones that I made in a second, which will come into play. Is Matt and Nick both picked to take your top 20 events and then average those points. So if you only played 19 events, you essentially get 0 for the 20th. If you played great at 21 events, one's going to get dropped. But
that was our choice. That was the way we chose to do it, but you could choose.
So we're planning on having it be where you can choose it's just gonna be total points, or that you're gonna do kind of an average of 5 events, 10 events, 20, or if you want to go 50, like.
And part of the value here is you can look at a full season, forget how many, like just what did you play? You could say player of the year talk, meaning you don't have degradation. You don't have to set an amount. What were you thinking with that? Josh,
can I give a reaction? I don't know if I specifically to that comment, but just in general, why I say it matters to the players. What I find most compelling, I think you had Paul on for an interview at some point in the past months, and you ended up with a little extra banter. Nick, maybe this is when he was in the warehouse and you pulled him in and you looked at world rankings a little bit, right? You know what's most insightful to me is how like a player at that level fairly quickly, you actually hear the reasoning in his head of like, well, here's why this didn't really like matter as much, and who are they competing against here, and oh, that was that event that none of us cared about, right? And this is happening. So in other words, he's creating this system in his head, and boy, like, wouldn't we love to have the same thing from Ricky and Eagle and Calvin and Chris, right? And then have that aggregate. And so it's fun that you can do it, because at the end of the day, we're left guessing what matters to them, right? We've heard some players say certain events do or don't matter. So I want to build a ranking system off of that. The other fun part, just a general comment. So Evan, I think it's great. Matt and I have talked about this topic before in general, and we always want to debate our rankings. So it's fun that you can kind of tweak it, right? You can kind of make the case and be like, here's why my player's number one. Depending how flexible you make this, of course, I can see somebody sitting there and messing with the system until their player pops up on top, but that's awesome.
Exactly. I was just going to say, Josh, it sounds to me like your choice of how you would rank is the correct way. It sounds like it. You can go out there and say, everybody, this is the right way. Mine is the right way because it's the way the players want it. But then someone's going to come over and say, well, and I would argue that, Josh, like you said, belt and silver series. I go, great. All the players showed up there because it's a great event. But in the end, it doesn't have the same pressure on it. It doesn't have, so like I'm not weighting it the same. And this is the debate of sport talk. So I'm going to let Evan go ahead and give his results as he put them. And then we did some fun things to kind of show how the system might be adjusted in an interesting way.
Yeah, so I did 100 points for majors as well as you guys, but I dropped my elite and Euro down to 50, so it's worth half of what a major is worth. Then I kept the same kind of percent that the Disc Golf Pro Tour does with Silver Series, having it be a quarter. So I did a quarter of 50, which is 12.5. And then I kept it a little fun and did 3 points for A tiers, 2 points for B tiers, and 1 point for C tier. I don't necessarily think those should count a ton, but they're only 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point. Like, it's not going to hurt a ton. The big difference I did also is I only counted the top 12 events. If you guys both noticed in your rankings, Eagle was third behind Paul, and I'm not saying he's definitely above Paul. That's a great debate. But he played less events this year. He kind of skipped, I think, all or most Silver Series and played 1 or 2 NTs. So my rankings came out to be Paige Pearson first as well, and then Katrina Allen, Haley King, and then I had Evelina Salonen at 4th, and then Missy Gannon at 5th. So I had the same top 3. Evelina popped up. Missy went from 4th to 5th compared to you guys. And then Sarah Hokum in 6th. Kristen Tatar in 7th. Henna Blomroos in 8th. Kona Panis in 9th. And, I have a PDGA number here, but I didn't grab it.
I looked it up right before
player. I came. But I was really surprised about this, and I wanted to look into why they made my top 10. I pulled it up right here. It was Brittany Quisenberry. Is that Quisenberry?
What a cool name.
And she did 2nd at the Resistance Disc Open. And so and maybe last year she did some. I was really confused on how she got that high, but I'm going to look into it later and find out. And that's what's really cool about it. On the MPO side, and this is where it gets really interesting, my results turned out with Paul Macbeth being the first in the rankings, with Ricky being 2nd, Eagle 3rd, Calvin 4th. I had Chris Dickerson in 5th, just like you guys had. But I had Kyle Klein jump up to 6th compared to you guys having him in 7th. And then James Conrad was in 7th. You guys both had him in 9th. Adam Hamas dropped to 8th compared to you guys having him 6th. Vina Makala is in 9th. And Kevin Jones drops from 10th when you guys had him at 8th.
Okay. So the talking point here, I want to kind of adjust it too, because I think it's relevant, is the number 1 changing is always the big story. 7, 8, 9, 10 could be debated, up 1, down 1. Number 1 is a big story. Why did your ranking system put Paul first?
I got to assume it's because I did majors being worth double. You did majors being 100 points and Disc Golf Pro Tour being 80, or elite being 80. So as well.
Okay.
I did elite being 50. So with Paul coming in 1st and 2nd in the 2 majors this year, I don't know what he did at USDGC last year, but
not good. Wasn't that his dropout?
Oh, that was 2019.
Oh. No, that was 2019.
And then, Ricky, I think he came in like 3rd or 4th, like not anything bad, of course. So, and then Eagle as well, finishing top 10, but more like 7th or 8th at the 2 majors this year.
Okay, this is all interesting, but let's have a little fun. Let's
All
go
right.
over and let's do. I think I said, hey, let's make Silver Series worth a lot, and see who would be ranked well if we gave a lot of value to those. So how did we rank that value system?
So yeah, I did Silver
Calvin
Series are
Heimberg.
worth 100, so that's what Major's been
Missy
doing. And then,
Gannon.
Calvin Heimberg, Missy Gannon, Josh says.
and then everything else is worth 10 points. So you have some things
Okay.
factoring in. It's not just Silver Series,
But everything
but
else was 10.
a huge weight of Silver Series. Yeah.
Okay.
And on the FPO side, we had a huge shakeup. Lisa Fakis took the number 1 spot.
Yes.
I can't remember. I think won 2 Silver Series this year, maybe, or some last year.
Was it Goat Hill? And she also did the Great Lakes thing one year. Anyways.
And then Missy Gannon comes in second. She won Stafford and probably did well at a few others too. Sarah Hookham in third, Kristen Tatar in fourth, and Katrina Allen in fifth. On the MPO side, Ricky Wysocki, again, like in almost all the other ones, comes in first. He had I think 2 wins this year, Belton and Vintage, maybe. Adam Hammis in second. He won Resistance Disc. Calvin Heiberg won third. No, he won Vintage. That is correct. Matt Orem in fourth, who won Stafford. And in fifth was Dan Schlitter, who won Clash of the Canyons, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't Clash of the Canyons, but it was Was it Clash of Canyons?
No, I think it was Clash at the Canyons.
Maybe it was Clash at the Canyons.
Yeah, it was. I'm sorry. I was thinking that was a tournament that just happened in North Carolina.
Yeah. And Terry Roethlisberger was sixth. And just a few other notes. Nathan Queen was eighth. Scott Withers was ninth. I know he played Resistance Disc.
Yeah, he got second at Resistance.
So I don't know. That probably played a huge part. And then great player otherwise.
I think, Josh, I'm going to let you say your thought. I think you should add, I always say this, on your website, there should be a fan vote that you can choose to take into account for your rating system. So like if people go on there and vote, I go on there and vote, and everyone, it's like, it gives like player values to people that you could then account in if someone wanted to. Like, hey, so many people think this guy's better.
Yeah,
like,
that's fine.
I find that as
popularity
value.
poll.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I find that as value, and I'll give that a weighted percent of like 10 points, or something. But all right, Josh, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I love the idea because truly, at the end of the day, this time of year, any disc golf friends hanging out, any podcasts, any shows, right? We start debating who's player of the year. And everybody's got an opinion, and sure, we're usually within the top 5, right? Some agreement. But then what do? We just debate exactly the nuances. Well, here's why maybe they weren't quite as big of a story, but remember they had this stretch right back in like, June, right? And we're trying to recall all these things. And so I like both sides of it, meaning it's fun to be able to kind of try to make your case with data, and Statmando making that easy, right? Which is a lot of fun. At the end of the day, I don't think I specifically answered your question. If it were me, I would say majors get 100. Elite Series and Euro Tour both get 50, and that is all. I drop everything else off.
So it's funny, as
else.
we were doing this, as we were talking about this the whole time, I was saying to myself, next year, I don't even want to count Elite Series in the conversation of Player of the Year stuff, because we're talking about the best players going out on the road. I would just put literally the Elite Series events. I'm sorry, did I say Elite before? I meant to say Silver Series. Sorry, I meant to say Silver Series.
I'm like, what?
I saw Matt get kind of like get wild out right there. But I would Silver Series completely kick them out and just do 50 points, like Josh was just saying, 50 points for Elite Series events, and then 100 points for the majors. Because I think the majors especially is what catches my eye. Who is consistently competing well at the majors? That's the biggest tournaments of the year. Next year, there's going to be more than 2 of them. So I think that's going to be huge for next year's talk. But yeah, I wouldn't even count the Silver Series events, especially with the way that the Pro Tour is going right now and making the Elite Series Tour almost at one point, it's going to be specifically for tour card holders or professional tour members of it. And then Silver Series are going to be that lower end tour of players trying to get up onto the Elite Series Tour.
And that's
this is what makes it. Right. Yeah. But this is what makes it fun. I think each year matters. Nick, I feel like this year I would rank things a little different than I would next year. Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I mean, just because we heard a lot of the top pros in the beginning of the year say, I'm trying to get as many tournaments in as I can, because you may not remember, but back in March, we were still unclear if we were going to have a full touring season. Right. We ended up pretty much having that. But like, that changes the vibe. So again, I'm picking on it as one event out of all of them, but the Belton Open felt like a different vibe. That's because a lot of the players love that event, but honestly, a lot of them would have skipped that event, if they knew what the whole year would have played out, right? Because they didn't need to pack in the Silver Series events, but they were, because they didn't know what was going to happen. So, this year feels like maybe you might, and I guess that's what's fun. So thank you, Evan and team, right? Because here you might tweak it a little and say, here's the story this year, but next year, all I want, and this is partly because of the growth of the sport, the focus, right? Paul's released his schedule for next year. I imagine some other players have. You can start to see and look what matters to them, and it's majors and elite series. Like, that is it. And in my opinion, when I stop, maybe I'm oversimplifying, Matt. I like the narrative of the story. I love stats, so I'm all about it. But we've talked about this before. I kind of like to almost like close my eyes and say, what do I remember about this year? And it's almost always majors and a few select elite series events. And that's the narrative. Like, that's what we remember. We remember James Conrad had a throw in. Remember Paul was second. I then start to forget who was third, fourth, and fifth, truthfully. Right? At USDGC, you remember what was coming down the line, right? And you remember how those last few holes played out. And you remember that Kyle Klein and Paul Macbeth, right? And how it ended. And Paul, and you remember the roar on the green of the extra hole when you could see the relief, right? That he won the major that he's been in the hunt for. Like, so those stories resonate. And then for me, it's just a couple big elite series events, right? That I remember. And for whatever reason, and I'm sure it's biased, so this is why the argument's great, but for whatever reason, the ones that I remember, maybe they were important to me, maybe I was watching them different, the narrative was different, but those are the ones that sink in, and that's how I pick player of the year. Now, I love stats, and that's what's fun, is now I want to go look at the stats and say, how wrong was I, right? Or how right was I? So, so I love both sides of it, but to me, that's always the story. I'll make a case every time for like what feels right versus the data.
Yeah, I definitely, I think the same thing, because I mean, when I think back, who did get third place at Worlds? I don't remember. Was it Kevin? Was it Calvin? I forget.
Sexton was going there, but I think it might have been Kevin, but I don't remember. Yeah.
Okay.
See, this is my point.
And then same thing with USDGC. And
well, it doesn't matter to us.
Weekends ago. Well, exactly, but that's also, but you have to put that talk in player of the year conversation. Like, I think when I think about player of the year this year, how well did Eagle, Ricky, and Paul do at the two majors? Paul got second place and first place. I don't know what Ricky did, and I don't know what Eagle did, because they weren't in the conversation of ever winning either of those events. And so I kind of dropped that off. But then, okay, Eagle played great on the Pro Tour this year. Ricky did pretty well on the Pro Tour and the National Tour. So they all have arguments. But for me, I take so heavily of what happened at the majors, because that's when the most is on the line. There's the most viewers. There's the most atmosphere, everything like that. Like, that's what I look at as, this is the tournament that they go into, and that's all they look forward to. You can see in one of Paul's documentaries that he had years ago, he's like, all my focus is on Worlds. Then all my focus turns into USDGC. He never talks about, this year he could have been a 3-time in a row champ at Maple Hill, but that wasn't ever kind of like on his mind. It was, okay, Worlds just ended. I had a heartbreak moment on the USDGC. And what can I do to win USDGC?
And this goes to Josh's point, what matters to the players, but I'm not totally bought into what matters to the players is how we should evaluate. Anyways, we could keep going down this whole thing.
Matt, but I know, but the reason why is because I think that's where we see the best results that actually are relevant. But I mean, and by the way, I'm fine to like disagree. I understand probably the point you're making, but but that's, I'm not even saying it's because I want to mirror the players, like as if I care about what they think. No. It's actually the other way around. I don't care what they think, but where I know the best results happen is where they're actually putting their foot on the pedal, because then I'm like, now I'm seeing kind of the uninhibited, like, best players playing as hard as they can.
Right.
Because we always talk about the ceiling, right? And then you have some player who like misses it, and then you have 10 excuses why Eagle actually is as good as the best, but why he didn't show it right at that event. And I'm like, why? Why does Eagle not go out and win majors? And to me, that's a real question. No, but that's a real question you have to actually ask. Mm-hmm. Even though I think he is one of the best in the world. Mm-hmm. So like, but to me, that's a part of the story. I mean, and by the way, I think he is one of the best in the world. And if I were voting, he's going to win plenty of majors. So I'm not out on Eagle, but like, why is that? That has to be part of the story.
Pat, are you in the chat?
Yeah,
Pat, are you in the chat? Josh is picking
Hey, I
Eagle.
just said Eagle's one of the best. And I said, I think he's going to win a lot of majors.
Yeah. Okay.
And he has won a major.
Let's do this, because we did run into our 20 minutes. We doubled what we said, which is fine. But Evan is just going to give us
27 minutes.
Yeah.
27.
Yeah. So Evan is going to give us pick one of ours just to say how it would play out for Player of the Year.
Yeah, I'll real quick say it was a clean sweep for Paige Pierce winning FPL Player of the Year, and as a clean sleep. Oh my gosh,
Sleep Queen.
It was
He's already thinking
goodness.
about tonight.
It's a clean sweep on the MPO side as well, with all of us picking Ricky. Even though my system for a 2-year ranking system had Paul barely edging out Ricky, when you factor in just 2021 and no degradation, Ricky then barely beats Paul. So,
But my system actually puts Eagle in second place, but that's just the fun here. So,
yeah, I think the top 10 looks pretty similar to what the ranking kind of system were. I mean, when you factor in degradation, it's essentially like 2021 matters the most, but you factor in some of 2020. So
I think it's fantastic.
I think the top 10 looks pretty similar.
Was the debate really between anybody else besides Ricky, Paul, or Eagle? And what's interesting is the way yours rolled out at the end of the season, Paul made enough of a push to actually get to that second place, if you will. But it looks like Ricky. We'd be surprised if anybody else took it besides Ricky this year. But that's not to say we can make arguments like we just did for the last 25 minutes, how it could go one or the other. All right, let's do
Hey, and Evan,
closing thoughts.
Just closing thought. This is just kind of an obvious thing. I don't know exactly how your website works, but I work in this is a little bit of a spin-off of something Matt said. I work in the field of technology and artificial intelligence and data, right? So like that's my thing. I think it really would be compelling. Imagine if you had 1,000 or more people building their models in your tool, right? To actually take that and make a fairly sophisticated tool based off of what the fans care about and output the Statmando, right, version of the results. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I was thinking that exact thing. Statmando's going to have the gold standard.
All right. I mean, that sounds great with me. I love the idea.
All right. So that is going to wrap up that topic as far as like rankings go. But I really wanted to give Evan and Statmando that opportunity because they've been working on this for a long time. I think it's going to be really neat. It is neat. We're working with it now. Evan, are you ready to go into stat or fiction? And Josh, are you cool to play that with us?
Yeah, I'll hang out until you kick me off.
I was going to say, we haven't had Josh on the show since he completed a 100-mile race. So congratulations, one, on doing that, and congratulations reaching your goal for charity with the Paul Macbeth Foundation, everything like that. How are you feeling? I saw on Instagram that you're finally back out running again. How are you feeling with everything?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you to this show specifically, Nick. This audience who's listening and your show for the platform helped us bump over that $1,000 goal. Remember, we had put a match down at $200. This audience beat it over 200, so it was matched, et cetera, et cetera. I got a lot of straight Venmo payments and a couple other places, so thank you for that. And ultimately, thank the Paul Macbeth Foundation. Thanks for that. For me, I'll be brief just because it is something I could elaborate on for an hour because it's like pretty crazy experience. It was awesome. I completed it. It took me longer than expected, but I was below the cutoff where they make you quit. I ran straight for 31 hours and 43 minutes, which was pretty insane. Honestly, physically, it was very hard, but I was not as tired as I thought. But I ended up getting kind of like tendonitis in my ankles for the last 10, 15 miles. And I'm still recovering from that. So like I'm out there gingerly like moving around. Muscles are completely fine. No soreness, no tired. I feel like I could go run 30 miles, but I can't because of my ankles. So apparently when you run 100 miles, it can get pretty grueling. Matt saw me out there for some of it. He saw me. Was I half smiling at the finish line? I was happy. But it was pretty grueling. It was awesome though. I loved it.
That's wild. I'm like so intrigued by it. I mean, 100 miles you ran for 31 hours straight.
Yeah.
During those 31 hours, I had probably slept for 16 of those, like me. And so then I'm like, dude, that's insane.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, at some point when we're hanging out, I'll give you the 10-minute version of all the fun stories. People just like hunkering over on the side of the trail, taking naps, like while I'm running by them. People did like everything. It's pretty bonkers. It was a really cool experience. It shows the capacity of humans. In this case, it was me, right? But truthfully, go out there, set a goal, do something you didn't think you can do. I promise you can do more than you think, whether that be in disc golf or anything else. It was a pretty cool experience.
It is bonkers. Nick's like, I slept 16 hours. I ate 5 or 6 meals. Like, I took a shower.
Oh, dude, definitely.
Watched a TV show. Okay. let's go ahead and get into stat or fiction. Yeah, it's really cool.
Hold on. I'm not trying to interrupt. Can I give it's really cool. Hold on. I'm not trying to interrupt. Can I give a slightly related disc golf story? I'll keep it brief.
Yeah.
So this is the weekend of USDGC that I'm running next.
Yes.
Right. So I'm running Saturday into Sunday. So Saturday is the final round.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my brain is all over the place running for that long. For the most part, I'm focused only on running and eating and drinking, truthfully. But, periodically I'm like, oh yeah, like today's the tournament. It's like I'm running down a wooded trail trying to pop out UDisc, like on my phone, like I'm bouncing around, I'm looking at it. And coincidentally, the moment I looked at it, I don't know what time the tournament's going to end. I'm running. I happen to look at it, I'm bouncing down the trail trying to stay focused, and it shows Paul and Kyle tied. Okay, but it shows Kyle on top. Well, usually what that would mean is it was a playoff and Kyle won.
Kyle won it, yeah.
So I put my phone away thinking, well, that's a wrap. I can't believe Paul lost in extra
Another
playoffs. In the playoff, I'm like, he lost Worlds. I'm like, he must be crushed. So then I, as a disc golf show host, I'm like narrating this whole thing in my head, like, wow. I mean, so for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, I lived in an alternate reality where Kyle Klein won USDGC and Paul lost in a playoff for like multiple hours. I'm like, wow, that's just a crazy story. And then literally a couple hours later, I think it's over. I go and look because I'm like, I wonder how many holes they went into playoffs. That's the only reason I brought my phone back out. And I look at it, I'm like, what? Now my mind's blown. I'm thinking I'm going stir crazy because I've been running for 24 hours. I don't even trust myself. I saw Matt somewhere around mile 75 or 80 and I had to ask him. And that's when I got the lowdown. So that was pretty funny. So I lived in an alternate reality for a couple hours.
That's actually hilarious. Well, so we were all living in an alternate reality when
Wow,
we
I
had
see
no
what
idea what the
sense.
score was
Yeah.
going in. Paul on 17 and 18 because Kyle's score kept flipping up and down. So
Imagine if I had been looking at that moment, not watching the live feed, I would have really thought I was going crazy.
yeah.
But-
Oh god, yeah. Like wait, all of a sudden he was at 26. Now he's at 24.
Oh,
Yeah. I was
Anyway.
going crazy.
sorry to keep derailing your show, Matt, but I thought it was funny.
It's
Maybe
not my
just-
show. It's the Nick and Matt show, and Nick is holding it down.
Oh yeah.
This is good. This is what podcasts are. Josh on my show. By the way, for anyone who's interested, we have Josh on, but his show I'm also a part of it over on Disc Golf Network. Like, we don't do what we're doing right now. Our show is I'll just say the words, polished, cut, timers. Like, we stay on topic. If you want something like that, go check it out on Disc Golf Network. I'm not getting paid for that ad, and they didn't pay for that ad, but we enjoy what we're doing over there. Okay. Stat Mando again. What would we do without Stat Mando? We just took up like an hour's worth of show, and we're going again here. Stat or fiction? Let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right. Oh, we got to get rid of the points. We already declared Josh a winner.
I win.
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay, so go ahead and Evan, give us the first stat or fiction.
All right. So we all know Nathan Queen by this point. He finished third last weekend at the Down East Players Cup. This is his first loss in North Carolina all season.
Oh man. We're gonna start. I'll go just to make it fair because I can't pick. I'm like, I'll just pick Nick to go first. I'm gonna go and I'm going to say stat. I think that's kind of crazy, but stat.
You said he lost at that tournament?
He finished third, so yes, lost.
Okay, right. So yeah, I guess right. Yeah, you lost. Sorry.
But that's his only one, is what he's saying. So I said that's
Okay.
stat.
Yeah, his
Nick,
first
Nick,
loss
you're
in
up.
North Carolina.
Nick, you're up.
Fiction.
All right. Nick says fiction.
Yeah, I feel like it's fiction. I feel like he had to lose another one.
All right. Let's see how that played out. Evan, give us the truth.
That is a stat.
Oh,
He has played now 4 events in North Carolina in 2021. He won King's Cup in January. He won the Silver Creek Open probably in February. And then he won the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship in October. So it was a long gap. He was touring all summer. He wasn't in North Carolina. And then he just finished third at the Down East Players Cup. Yeah. So 3 out of 4.
See, I was
not
kinda-
bad, especially with one being 30 grand.
Yeah, I was banking on him playing Carolina Clash, but he actually did not play that. I totally thought he did, and I know Joel won it, so that's why I was like, oh yeah, he lost that one. But I guess
too
he
smart
didn't
for
even play
yourself.
it. I guess so.
A little side note to Nathan Queen. If you look at, by the way, I keep getting it right, and I'm so proud of myself. Nathan Queen. If you look at Nathan Queen, he finished 17th in Disc Golf Pro Tour. And like, I feel like that name just wasn't talked about like at all this year. And I knew he's a good player and he's had events where he's popped off, but like, that's pretty good. Top 20. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I think reason being we didn't really talk about it much this year was just because it was never as in he was in contention to win an event. He was just consistently doing well. It was the same thing with USDGC. He said he had some great USDGC finishes, but you don't really notice that because he was never in contention to win it, or he wasn't on the lead card the final round or something like that.
Matt, you said 17th, but like, and I know we got to stay on the game here, but like he came in 28th, right?
Oh, why did I see 17?
Yeah, I was
maybe he did.
That.
No, he was the 28th seed.
Yeah. What am I seeing then? What am I seeing? I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
28th seed. Like, I wonder. Well, anyway, point being is,
where did I see him? 17th.
All of our disc golf shows, I think like we always only talk about like the top 15 if we're lucky. So like if you're riding below that, unless you show up on a lead card and we talk about you for 2 minutes, you're just below the radar. There's probably a lot of pretty good players that are riding at like that 30th ranking that we might even say, what's that name?
Oh, anyway, I know what it is.
Going.
I'm going back to my ranking system, I think, that I do with Statmando. Am I wrong here? There's somewhere where it came up 17th. Let me just...
Yeah, he's 17th in your player of the year rankings.
Look at that. I knew I had it somewhere. My player of the year rankings, 17th. So anyways, not Disc Golf Pro Tour, but I wasn't going crazy. I'm like, I didn't make it up, guys. I promise. Okay, let's get into, I'm leading 1-0 to those guys. Somehow, some way I did it. But all right, go ahead.
All right. Haley King's average round rating for each Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite season has increased every single year. So if you take all of her round ratings for the season, average them all out together, for each Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite season, they have gotten better every single season. And just for some context,
since she started,
since she's first Disc Golf Pro Tour event.
Okay.
For some context, this year her average round rating was 961.697.
Okay, so
this year,
yes,
it was 961.
Yes, 961 average.
Okay. And again, the stat is that it has increased every single year.
All right.
I think it's Josh, right? Or no, we just did one, so it's Nick.
I'll go stat.
All right, Nick says stat.
All right. Well, I'm just going with Nick, so I'll say stat, even though I thought that's what it was.
I think that would be very hard to beat. I'm going stat also, so give it to us, Evan.
All right. You guys have been stumped. That is fiction.
Wow.
She had a better year last year.
Last year was better. It was a 966.9565. But every other year has been an increase. She played only one event in each of 2016, 17, and 18, but each of those went up 940 in 2019 up to 966, but then back down to 961.
You know what's interesting, because I don't talk about ratings much. If you had asked me if I felt like she had a better year every year in succession, I wouldn't have said yes, but I thought maybe the rating did. In other words, I felt like she had a better overall year last year than this year, but interesting.
Interesting.
All right, Matt. You get another point, right?
No, I got
no,
it.
you were with us.
Goose eggs for that round. Statmando wins.
Right.
Statmando. And they track this, by the way. I'll tell you the stats in a minute on this game.
Yeah. All right. Here's a little odd one, but I thought it was a fun question to ask, or a fun stat or fiction. In the entire 2021 Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite season, nobody in MPO ever finished exactly 35th place.
You have to say that again.
In the entire 2021 Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite season, nobody in MPO ever finished exactly 35th place.
I don't know what that means.
So like,
Matt, I mean,
so like,
what this is saying is every single time people
for 30,
tied at 34, or 3 people tied at 33, so then it jumps up to 36.
Ah, wow. That's totally statable. I'm sitting here. Josh, you're up first.
Who's up? Me?
Yeah.
All right. Hold on. Mind games. Because honestly, at this point, all we're trying to do is figure out the game Evan's playing.
That's what I said.
None of us know this stat.
Every year.
Now, is Evan trying to stump us, or is this double reverse psychology?
Exactly.
So I am saying that it is a fiction.
I'm going fiction as well, because I'm doing the same thing as you, Josh, and I'm sitting here going, how did they even think of this? They said, oh, look.
I know how they thought of it. I'll say after Nick goes.
Oh,
I'm gonna go stat.
Nick's trying to tie it up. Then
By the way,
we'll
I
do a
think
tiebreaker.
Evan found this stat for some ranking, so it is true somewhere up and down the leaderboard. I just don't think it's 35th. All right, what do you got, Evan?
Oh, well, he's talked to me off air. He's like, I've got to make it a little bit easier. I can't be like, no, it was 34th. He can't do that. But, well, maybe he did. But we'll see. Evan, what do you got? How did this play out?
Just real quick, just because I saw it in the chat, if two people were tied at 35th, that would count as finishing 35th.
Okay.
So it's that no one ever finished with the number 35.
This would be absolutely bonkers.
And I what did you guys choose, by the way? I don't see the screen anymore.
Oh,
did
you
anyone
don't see
choose
it.
stat
I
or
did
fiction?
stat.
Nick did stat. Josh and I did fiction.
Okay, all right. I was just curious because the answer is stat.
Oh, Nick. That's crazy.
I fell into backwards into this. Did Nick win outright? Because I got
I'm
there's a
tied
bonus
with
question.
Matt. I'm tied.
All right.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
tied with
bonus.
Nick. I said I'm tied with Matt.
Okay.
He's tied.
Well,
with
let's go into the bonus question, and then I can we'll talk about it more because the bonus question is similar to this.
We're gonna let Josh answer after Nick and I because he can elaborate if he wants to.
All right. What place occurred most often in the Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite season of 2021 in both MPO and FPO combined? What place came up the most, had the most ties, essentially?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So if 5 people tied, that would count for 5 at that.
Yeah.
position.
So you're saying,
I
like,
got you.
obviously, first there's one tie.
It's
but-
got to be close to 35th. If
So
it's
there's-
always happening down the ranks like that, I'm gonna just.
So this is the closest to the correct answer.
Okay.
wins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nick, do you want to go first or me? What do you want?
You can go first.
All right. I see Nick on his computer. What's he doing? He's clicking through each of the events.
You will not find this quick enough if you're looking through at every single event and counting.
Stat
I
man.
have an idea.
Oh wow, 14th
Yeah.
showed up a lot.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
I'm
at
just
one
gonna
event.
roll the dice. Yeah. I'm gonna say it's gonna be further down, but I don't know if it's 35th that far down. It's a roll of the dice. I'm gonna say 22nd. 22nd is my number.
All right. I was gonna if Matt had went with 35th, I was gonna go 37th. But I'm gonna go 33rd. Got pulled up the most.
All right.
I,
Sorry.
do I
Go
get
ahead,
to
Josh.
go?
Good thing I didn't
Yeah,
say it.
Just,
Yeah.
Go
just
ahead,
for
Josh.
fun,
Sorry.
for bragging rights. 29th place. All right.
He just splits the difference.
All right. Matt is the closest, and someone in chat came very close. Kent Chapman said 24. Correct answer is 25th. 25th had 42 total occurrences. The next highest had 35, which was 7th place. You got to factor in FPO. FPO has smaller field sizes. I think they have between 25 and 40.
Yep, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
So 25th
I
place
screwed that one
happened
up.
30 times in MPO and 12 in FPO. And so that's what I looked up originally first and was like, oh, that's really interesting. Just a neat fact that means absolutely nothing. And then I was looking through and found out that 35th just never happened and was like, wow, what are the chances? So that's how that came to be.
What are the chances? Which is why I probably should have went with stat on that.
Yeah.
But anyways.
And the 5th and 6th most popular occurrences were 34th and 36th. So right around 35, which
I
also
almost
makes sense.
went to that. I was
Yeah.
like, it's got to be close to that. But in the end, I was just like,
I was thinking in the 30s definitely was going to be it, but that's all right.
And there was one other place that didn't have any occurrences in MPO in about the top 80, and that was 65th. So 35th and 65th just never happened this year.
ladies and gentlemen, if we did not have Stat Mando, you would not be hearing these outrageous, awesome stats.
Yeah, now you know if you ever need to go to a trivia contest where that comes up.
This is why it's crazy. I'm
Oops.
taking a way left turn here, but like Nathan Queen ranking 30th in Disc Golf Pro Tour this year, right? That's why it's so crazy that he won. I'm just saying, like, you get buried down the leaderboard in like 30. You start seeing all these ties, everything blends. Like, you're close to missing cuts at some tournaments. It's just like it's so crazy. You get lost in the mix down that low. Nobody's looking at who tied for 35th unless you're looking for a particular name.
So
well, that's what when we had Nathan on, we were talking about how he missed cash at D-Glow this year, which was a Pro Tour event. And so you don't notice those things until, hey, he just won the Pro Tour championships. let's go back and take a look at his track record.
Yeah. And I've been looking back and I'm like, no surprise. He's in the 30s everywhere.
Evan and I are over here laughing because someone in the chat said stat rando. Stat rando. That's a great one. We got to make some shit.
I like that nickname.
Honestly. It is fun, but yeah, it's like, I'm totally teasing Evan because I love what you do, but like I could come on here and be like, yeah, so Nathan Queen finished 48th, 13 strokes over in the tournament 6 years ago. Stat or fiction?
And we're just like, what do we do with that? So they track everything, Statmando here. For the game stat or fiction, Nick, stat or fiction, you're beating me with correct answers. Is that stat or fiction?
Stat.
It is stat. Even after today's win, I have 12 correct. You have 14 correct. All right. And then if we go down the list, Adam Hammis is our most correct answered person ever of all time.
Did Josh
but if
go
you did
0
it
for
like
3?
If you did it like batting percentage, I'm definitely leading. So
Well,
anyway.
did Josh go 0 for 3?
Did you get 1 in this? I don't think so.
I don't know if I did, but I was like,
so now you're batting.
I was thinking about that as it going. If you did go 0 for 3, I think that was the first time any guest has gone 0 for 3. I wouldn't like
stat rando.
Yeah.
All right. I get it.
That Nick's a little tougher, which I also full clarity. I think at some point I'm just gonna keep track of this in Google Sheet. It's not totally official. And I almost positive I have something wrong with you two. And I probably just accidentally inputted something wrong. Because
wait a second.
If you add Nick's, he has 13 correct, 10 wrong, but there's been 25 total questions.
But
so I'm missing 2.
But at the same time, I was looking at that earlier because I care.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I sat out and we had a guest do the stat or fiction.
Yeah. So you have sat out once or twice,
right.
or you've looked at the last questions, things like that.
This is fun.
This is compelling, by the way.
Yeah.
Hey, also, I usually listen to your podcast at about 125%.
Yeah.
So you guys all sound like mildly drunk on the show tonight. I feel like you're all talking very slow.
Oh man.
Like right now.
That's hilarious.
We're super slow. If we try
Killing.
really slow, then it will sound normal when he speeds it up. So Josh, you're probably not going to listen back to this whole episode, but for this part, I'm going to slow it down and you can tell me if it sounds normal when you listen later. Okay, we are going to close out stat or fiction.
Enough of the humor.
I'm going to go listen to it at fast speed and see what that was like. All right. Oh, man, I'm laughing over here. Things are going great. Here we go. This is a fun topic. I am going to start a timer, which I've never done on this show. We're going to keep this to 5 minutes.
How to pronounce our favorite food items.
Yeah.
That's my favorite segments. They're usually only about 60 seconds worth, but Nick, they're my favorite. I'm sorry. You could probably spin up a different show for that, but anyway.
I'm down.
Where else do you hear about gyros? I just got to say. We had those tonight. Again, we had that tonight. That's crazy that happened again. I brought it up again. Okay. Here we go. This is the topic. It's a free-for-all. The floor can be open. Nobody needs to dominate it unless it's me. No, okay, here we go. Things that don't look professional in disc golf. Nick, I know you have a few. What are your top 2, top 3 things that don't look professional?
What I'm wearing right now in my ear, I think looks awful when players are using them on the course. The only reason I'm using them right now is because my Skype won't work on my computer. So headphones, earphones, AirPods, AirPod Pros, whatever you want to call them. I think those look insanely unprofessional on the course. Practice rounds, do your thing, have a blast with it before you warm up for a tournament, after you're done your round, whatever. Wear them all you want, but during starting on hole 1, finishing on hole 18, I think it looks really bad. Sweatpants, so like clothing, I think players should, if you're a professional disc golfer playing at a Pro Tour event, and I'm specifically thinking about Elite Series events right now and above. I'm not talking about your local C tiers or B tiers. Pro Tour events, I think, should have a stricter dress code of golf attire, disc golf attire. If there's a company finally coming out with disc golf clothing, I think that's something that should be implemented. I'll let you guys talk about a couple of your own, and I'll think up some more ideas in my head.
Nick's gonna think up some more.
Yeah, I'll try to.
Yeah, Josh, do you have any thoughts right off the top of your head, or you haven't thought about it?
Well, I didn't have much time, but I will just pick on one because every time I see it, I'm just kind of shake my head because I understand how it happens, but I think it doesn't look that professional, which is we have a lot of touring pros who are friends with other touring pros coming down the fairway, the 18th hole, and they just like they're inside the ropes and they're kind of hanging out. So a perfect example would be like Kyle Klein trying to make a decision if he should run the putt on the 18th green. And I could name names, but I see a couple people like just there, like they're in the excitement. They're on the camera and they're kind of talking about like what decision you're going to make. And you know what? It looks like a lot of fun, quite frankly, because maybe that would be me if you were like on the 18th green, right? But I just don't. I think it looks like a bunch of people just hanging out, whereas you would never see that like at any other type of elite sporting event. So I'm just going to pick on that.
But I'm going to counter with something. I thought it was cool how when players got eliminated from the Tour Championship, that like you saw Paul Ewberry caddying for Drew Gibson, and he was carrying his bag, being professional. Nothing wrong with that. I thought that was cool. But yeah, I get where you're going.
Yeah, but that was much more professional, right? Like in other words, would you be surprised if in the PDGA some player did it? You'd probably be surprised, but if they actually played an official caddy role, you'd probably be like, that's cool. I'm talking much more like these players come out of the woodwork when the excitement's happening and they're just all hanging around. Like now, by the way, I've seen the evolution of the sport. So like I've been the fan who is trying to like hang around close when the action's happening right on the last few holes because you know somebody and you're a friend. Like, so like I get it. I'm just saying as the sport evolves, like when you're on TV, like it looks way different when everybody's chummy than when they're like focused and everybody's behind the ropes. Like you wouldn't dare. Like I don't care if I'm friends with them unless I'm actually caddying or part of the official event. Like I'm over here rooting them on from the sideline like everybody else, or I'm in a VIP section, or I'm waiting to hang out later, right? Like back at the hotel. Like that's fine, but like you don't be out there like I'm in the action.
I get that.
I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Josh is getting his first hater in the chats. I'm calling him out. Chris Carpenter. It's a terrible take, Josh. Terrible take. All right.
It's about time.
I was going to say.
Too nice on our other shows.
I was just going to say.
No,
it's about time.
All right. I got two. Sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
No, you're good. I'll just be quick with it because I kind of want to agree with Josh to a large degree of that is I definitely think, USDGC does the inside the ropes. Like the only player or the only people inside of the ropes are a scoring official, the players, caddies, and then you kind of have like it's not actually a mental health coach, but most players were allowed to bring like one extra person inside, like to be able to talk with like events that I went to with Paul. I was able to talk with Paul and not caddy for him, but I was able to be like that plus one person and not disturbing like other card mates or stuff like that. But I do agree where it should be a little bit more professional of like there are only specific people allowed in this area. Now, if Kyle goes and literally walks up to the ropes where other players are standing, I think that's a different story. I think that's totally fine. He can do that thing and where it's more like, yo, what do you like? Who is it? When Colton won Waco, right before he won it, there was
Jordan
potential
Castro.
that it was going to go into a playoff, and someone went up to Colton saying like, "Hey, go start putting, like go do your thing." And I think that's cool. Like I think you should have people.
1 minute left.
That,
1 minute left.
Yeah. Anyways,
Evan.
next one.
All right. First, a little bit more obvious is I don't like roped OB where the terrain doesn't change at all. I don't mind if it's like kind of manicured and you pick what you did. USDGC, I think, did a great job this year by having the longer grass. So it was much easier to see. And like Idlewild has that on a few holes. And you see that. I like seeing that a lot. I don't like seeing where it's just like the same exact terrain and that's just a line. So just do a little.
I'll have to edit this tonight.
So you and Evan had frozen. All we saw was Evan's. Oh, we're back on the YouTube. Oh, never mind. Stuttered again.
Well, it keeps happening. Going. Oh, it seems good now. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It might be good now.
At what timestamp is this when it went wild? I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
At 1 hour and 59 minutes.
Josh and I were Josh and I closed out the show. Everyone have a great night. Just kidding.
So, okay, that was crazy. We were all having conversations, everybody, and we were frozen. We're back. Here's the deal. We're going to close up that topic, and I'm just going to say I think I generally agree with what everybody said there. I had some of those same things down. I think maybe it's a crazy take. I think it would be neat to see caddies in full caddy gear to differentiate. This is professional. I'm doing this as part of the thing. I said some other things the previous weeks, things like chain link fences and just stuff that's not a part of a course, or shouldn't be. It is where we're at now, but I'd love to see that change. All right. Let's close out on this. It's actually 5 minutes, but I want to react to this. I set it up. Let's do it. Let's listen in to Nick and Matt's takes earlier in the year. This is me and Nick talking about which players will and will not have wins the rest of the season. Meaning, I'm gonna set it up for you when I get to this clip. But we talked about already. Paul had, a couple podium finishes or no wins. There was like 2 or 3 events that had happened, and Nick and I are making takes for the rest of the season. So here's that clip, pre-recorded, 5 minutes of clip. Here we go. Which notable player will not take home a win this year, or we could say the rest of the year? Okay, so some players already have, but just from here on out, which notable player will not take home a win or win the rest of the year? Again, saying that some of these have. So let me just read off some of these names. Paul McBeth, he's had 2 podium finishes, no wins. And I'm talking Elite Series or National Tour, okay? Chris Dickerson, no win, 1 podium finish. Calvin Heimberg, 2 podium finishes. Kevin Jones, no podium finishes. James Conrad, no podium finishes. Eagle McMahon, 1 win. Besides that, nothing, no other podium finishes. Nico Lacastro, 1 win. Besides that, no podium finishes. Nate Sexton, obviously, I don't say obviously, he was at LVC. No podium finishes. Simon Lizotte, obviously injured, no podium finishes. Ricky Wysocki, 2 wins. I don't want to say that's it, but no podium finishes outside of that. So 2 wins or nothing. So considering those players, just pick what you think would be the hottest take here to say that they're not going to get a win the rest of the season, and or a podium finish.
I think if you were to say hot take, I don't think Kevin Jones is going to win an NT or DGPT this year.
How about a podium finish? You think he'll get one of those?
Podium finish, maybe. I could see it happening at D-Glow if it happens. Obviously, he won the event in 2020. So, oh no, I'm sorry. When did he win it? No, he didn't win that one. I'm sorry, he won GMC. He didn't win. He lost at D-Glow. Eagle won it last year. I could see Kevin getting a podium finish here and there, and obviously the last event, 5th place at Texas State. That's obviously a push in the right direction. I think James Conrad, I don't know where I put him right now. I don't really see the full confidence that he had before, and that's obviously coming from changing discs and changing his bag and everything like that. Give it some time, but this year maybe a podium finish, but I don't see him getting a DGPT win. And then I guess my last one in that category, I think out of all these players, I don't think Nico will win another DGPT or an NT.
How about podium finishes for any of those players as well? I think I paused it, Nick.
All right. I am actually correct on all 3 of those statements I just made. Kevin Jones didn't get a single win.
By the way, we're back live. Hold on. We're just letting everybody know we're back live, as in like this is not the pre-recording. Yeah. Okay.
This is October 25th.
Yeah.
So Kevin Jones didn't get a single win. James Conrad technically did not win a Disc Golf Pro Tour, which is what I said. And Nico Lacastro did not get another win. Just saying.
All right.
I'm technically right.
You're like, I don't know about James Conrad, but anyways, you're not wrong. All right, let's continue on.
Thank you.
I think
all of them are very capable.
Yeah. Hot take
finishes,
though.
Obviously. Hot take. I don't think if I had to put one player, I don't think James will get a podium finish this year.
All right.
That's my hot take.
I'm gonna go down the list real quick, and I'm just gonna say like yes or no if they're gonna get a win. Paul McBeth, he gets a win. Yep. Chris Dickerson, no. These are hot takes. Calvin Heimberg, no. Kevin Jones, no. James Conrad, no. Eagle McMahon, yes. Ricky Wysocki, yes. And then I'll just say to Nico Lacastro, no. Nate Sexton, no. Simon Lizotte, no. These are all to wins. Those are all for wins.
Yeah, I'll say Calvin, yes. I think he'll get a win.
All right, we'll have to come back to this. For
FPO, we'll do the same thing. Just kind of briefly go down it.
Go ahead.
Paige Pierce, yes, we'll get a win.
Wait, hold on. Just put out. She's had 4 events. She's had 1 win.
1 win, 4 events, but I think she'll get another win.
Obviously, huh?
Yeah, they didn't quote me on it. Paige Pierce will get a win. Katrina Allen, I don't think will get a win, but she'll finish in the podium multiple times. Haley King will get another win. Kona, maybe. Podium finishes, definitely. Sarah Hokum, no. Jessica Weiss, no. Owen Scoggins. The only one that I can think maybe is Idlewild if she's going to it, just seeing how wooded it is. And then Missy Gannon, no. And Rebecca, no. But podium finishes obviously are all on the table because every single one of these players, besides for Kona, has a podium finish, but Kona also has a win. So, and she has the All-Star win.
The chat room's calling me crazy. They can't believe I called Calvin with no win. Now listen,
It might happen.
I'm not saying it can't, but I'm rolling the dice. I'm gambling. There's people saying he'll have multiple wins, all this stuff. That's great. To the FPO. All right, so that was the audio recap from episode 38 where we talked about that. Nick, I wrote down the list. This is what we're going to close out with tonight of what you chose. Okay. Stat or fiction? Stat or fiction? Okay. So here I said Paul Macbeth will get a win. I was correct. I'm just going to go so we can talk on these. Chris Dickerson, I said no. And I was almost correct. He waited until GMC. Calvin Heimberg, I said no. Listen, crucify me now. I think I'm right. He got a win at a Silver Series, which was the week after I said he wouldn't get a win, but I clearly specified Elite Series Disc Golf Pro Tour, or I said Disc Golf Pro Tour, which I don't mean Silver Series when I say that. But then, is tied for first a win? Is it a win? Oh, man. All right. All right. So if that's the case, then I was wrong there. Kevin Jones, no. I was right there. James Conrad, I said would not win. I was not right. Worlds was a big win. Eagle McMahon, I was correct. I said he would. Ricky Wysocki, I said he would. I was correct. Nicolo Castro, no. I was correct. Nate Sexton, no. I was correct. Simon Lizotte, no. I was correct. Paige Pierce, yes. I was correct. Katrina Allen, yes. I was correct. Haley King, yes. I was correct. But I'm trying to see here. Every other one for FPO, I wasn't correct. Sarah Hokum, well, no, see, this is where it gets interesting, right? Sarah Hokum, Jessica Weiss, Owen, Missy, and Rebecca. Missy totally shocked us. And yeah, generally your answers were very similar here. So we don't need to fully recap all of yours either unless you want to. Did any stand out to you that you were totally off on? No. He's trying to fix his camera.
Chat's saying he was muted.
Oh, was he muted?
That's what the chat was saying.
Yeah.
My headphones died, so I'm trying to.
This
Yes,
show.
We hear him. I hear
Okay,
him.
good. This show is funny. We can hear you, Nick. Yeah.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, my headphones died, and my phone, I texted you, my phone's probably going too soon, so
All right.
I didn't
All right.
charge not realizing that I was going to be spending all night on my phone.
Yeah, we're at the end of the show, everybody. I will say this in getting ready to close out, as we often do. We have had what we've considered as a super fan, Kent Chapman, from the very beginning, always there, hit us up, came down to visit, we played around, and I'm throwing this out there because this is kind of one of those scenarios that's like, was this meant to be? So last year, October 24th, okay, he comes down from Maine, a couple hours away. I've never met him before. We scheduled it. He plays at Maple Hill. Great time, good stories, awesome fun. Good memories. Yesterday, October 24th, unplanned, exactly a year later, I am up in his neck of the woods on a course playing in New England Disc Golf Team Challenge. And he comes up to a hole that I am on, not knowing I was going to be there. I didn't know he was going to be there. A year to the date later. Super fan, Kent Chapman. It's a real thing. I don't know why it happened, but it did. Awesome seeing you. Awesome seeing you, Kent.
Kent's the man, the absolute man.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we're got to save some talk for next week, and one of those points is going to be for next week, just to tease it out there, and everyone's going to go try to research it. Did you hear about this $20,000 first place tournament that's happening in February?
I'm not.
Okay. Josh, have you?
Sponsored by the Nick and Matt Show? No, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
what the heck?
No, it's real. You can find out some about it on Smashbox. Our friends over there at Smashbox, they had a episode with the event organizers a couple weeks ago or a week ago. I believe it's technically a group through Infinite Discs, but I don't think it is Infinite Disc per se. I think it's a group. Maybe they are going to do it that way. My understanding is it's called Disc Golf Con, as in Disc Golf Convention, like a Comic Con, except this is Disc Golf Con. And it's a whole experience for people, and they're doing an $84,000 match play payout for pros the week before LVC. $84,000, like, wow. And it's all for the fans, like, to watch and to be a part of for 4 or 5 days. So anyways, I thought that was extremely interesting. Until this year, 20,000 would have been like the highest paid out ever. And so pretty cool to see that's happening in the disc golf world. We'll talk more about that. 16 MPO are going to be there, 16 FPO competing for that money. And then we would be totally remiss not to say, we talked about Drew Gibson, and it was on my notes way earlier, but we got way out of control. Kristen Tatar, a 4-year deal worth $500,000. And people have to use the word million now in their contracts, but like, regardless how you word it, like, that's big for her and the sport to see FPO players getting paid out well. Any reaction to that, Nick, Josh, Evan?
I was super psyched for her. I think that's incredible. I do think that if she gets royalties from disc sales, I'm not sure how her contract works, but if she gets royalties from disc sales, I think she'll be well worth more than $500,000 within these 4 years. I think she'll make a lot more than that.
I got a hot take. She is going to win over $500,000 in cash prize over this contract of 4 years.
Mark it down. In fact, this is, I believe, a big part of it. She wants to come to the U.S. She says this is where the big events are. So if the money keeps trending up the way it is, the way it has been, and she comes over here and she dominates, we're going to see some stats. Stat rando.
Not going to be random, though. They're going to be very pertinent to the current state of Kristen Tatar.
All right, we've rambled on. I hope people appreciate. We gave you the extra 15 minutes you always wanted. People driving around, they're like, man, I have long drives and your show just hits the spot like that. So we gave you that extra 15 minutes. Hopefully it didn't put you to sleep. All right, Nick, we made it to that point.
If
Josh,
any of you ever,
what do you got?
Yeah, if any of you ever want a good time, just turn them to 75% speed when you're listening. It'll take longer, and it's hysterical. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate you coming on, and congratulations again on the 100-mile race. That's absolutely insane. Raising money for charity at the same time. Matt, are we closing out?
Yeah, you have this awesome like ambiance echo kind of sound in a warehouse, but you can close this out.
Nice. Yeah, I'll give it a go. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe on the Foundation Podcast Network on YouTube. Thank you for watching live. If you're listening post-produced, sorry about my audio and video this week. Apologize for that. Try to get it set up. But anyways, we really appreciate you. Thank you to Manscaped and Hempfield Botanicals for the support they've given us in the past with the show. Tell someone you love them this week. We'll catch you in the next one.
Nick, Josh, Evan, you're awesome. Peace out.
The Nick and Matt Show, a disc golf podcast designed for you, the disc golfer. Find the Nick and Matt Show on your favorite podcast platforms or stream us live exclusively on the Foundation Podcast's YouTube channel.